brought to you by Screamin' Sicilian Premium Craft Frozen Pizza, a Palermo's family of brands.
Unbelievably fantastic, man. I love to listen to your show.
Join the show now on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. Welcome to 9 to Noon.
All right, let's do it. This is technically 9 to Noon. Schmidt and Sarian on the game. I'm Billy Schmidt alongside Armin Sarian here today on 97.3 The Game and the Game network of stations. The NicoletLaw.com talk and text line, as Big Voice Guy said, is 877-794-1973. That's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmidt. And there is a 2-ton fullback elephant in the room, Armin, to discuss that. Sadly, we are going to continue this voyage without our guy, I'll be honest, the heart and soul of the show, and our guy John Kuhn was relieved of his duties, as he mentioned yesterday, on social media by iHeart across a litany of company cuts that frankly don't make a whole lot of sense. They really don't make sense when it happens in the midst of the most important, fruitful time in our business, especially the one that is most correlated and directly impacted and aided by the departed. It is a really frustrating couple of days.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it that way. However,
no other way.
It's one that sadly I know you've experienced it as well, and I'll hand you the floor here in a second. It's one that we experience far too often in this business. Many people in their industries do as well. In a lot of industries, subjectivity and performance comes right in line and directly correlates to your employment.
Performance-based, right?
This business is one of those that not a whole lot of times performance-based really matters.
Often it's not.
Often it is
it
is simply a name attached to dollars and cents. And when these things happen, they happen quickly, they happen swiftly. And they come with zero heads up. Like to say that a blindside hit was yesterday after the show, I think is a drastic understatement. However, getting to converse with John a little bit last night, back and forth, like you and I did, and then you did in a longer form yesterday as well. He's been an amazing teammate in a business where people that come from the sporting world don't always, and I don't mean to say this derogatory towards anybody else.
Sure.
John cared about this stuff more than about anybody I've been able to work with.
He didn't look at I think I'm going to say this correctly. Tell me if you agree. I don't think he looked at himself as an athlete who was doing radio. I think he looked at himself as a guy that used to play.
Mm-hmm.
That was one part of his life. And he looked at himself as a radio professional.
That's now a broadcaster.
Broadcaster. He looked at himself as a broadcaster. He didn't look at himself as, he took it seriously as in this business, it's obviously a 24-hour a day job. You have to take it that way. And he took it seriously in that regard. There was no sense of, well, I'm a former player doing it. I'm going to hop in and hop out. Boom. This is like
they just need me in there.
It's sort of,
that was never the case.
I think that's the best way to describe it. John looked at himself as a broadcaster first. No doubt.
And he was a remarkable help for at least, just me personally. And I know that, we say a lot of these things from personal vantage points. And there's a lot of people on the text line that will say this. Coming into a position where you guys had success and then to this be the outcome 14 months later, hard to not feel somewhat culpable.
Well, you're not though.
Right, and it's all of how this works, and this is all
of course
the emotion that happens within the last 24 hours. So we appreciate, at least I do, and Armin's going to speak here in a second. I appreciate everybody that has reached out with positive thoughts and negative thoughts.
Yeah,
because you can't generate the reaction that this got yesterday without making people feel something.
Right, which is our job.
And that means that this was good. That means that this was doing something. That means that it was right. And it was one of the better shows that I've been able to be a part of. It's one of the better chemistries that I've been able to have with a 3-person show. 3-person shows are not always super easy because of the moving and shaking.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's people that get upset with certain people. And then, you're sitting in the middle here and you're doing a show and this guy doesn't like this guy and they barely walk in at each other. And then that was never it. So like that is, that's a tough kick in the groin to have here on a Tuesday morning. And Armin, for one, I understand them. And I appreciate all the messages, and people are entitled to however they would like to vent the frustration. We just hope that out of this frustration and chaos, you decide to hang with us a little bit, because we're going to be here doing this, and it is something that for Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks, Golden Eagles fans, we do not take lightly.
No, of course not.
Given this opportunity, never have, never will take it lightly, getting to be able to talk into this microphone with you guys after these games.
I think that's what makes these days tougher, right? Because Billy, I think we knew how special it was, what we were doing and working with John. And I think we knew it every day, and you trying to take it for granted. And I like to believe I didn't, and I know we didn't, but still you wonder when it ends. If you did, you don't want it to take it for granted. It felt like being above the radio heavens for a while to do a show like that with John, and to do it with you, of course. And we're still doing it, but to do it with John. And I think our human instinct is, when things happen in life that we try to understand, we try and make sense of it, right? But sometimes you can't make sense of the senseless. And in this case, that's what makes it so frustrating, I think, for a lot of people. And I understand that for a lot of our listeners, that there's a lot more that goes on in radio that they don't understand, but they understand us and what they're given every day, which is the product, which is us, and we're the front lines of it. So all I can say is the frustration and hurt you feel is totally understandable. We feel it 10 times that, we feel it as much as you are.
I think Zabe said
this
a really
was our
good
livelihood, and more than that, Billy, John's a friend, right?
That was exactly
it. Was the same with Josh, obviously, a friend, which makes it even harder, because, and Zabe said it, you were talking about what Zabe said this morning was true. You just feel like in an instant a void is there. Yeah. And there's a hole there it's hard to replace.
And to do it right, you kind of have to have a personal investment in each other.
That's exactly
right.
And
that makes it so much worse.
You have to do it that way. It's like getting into this is a weird way to put it. It's like being in a relationship. Right? You're not gonna get the correct. It's not gonna be correct unless you put your heart there and you put your investment in there and you do it with your heart, right? And that's what's gonna make it hurt worse if it doesn't work out, right? It's the ups and it's like being a sports fan, right? If you invest your emotion and your energy and your hopes and dreams into your teams, and if they lose, it's gonna hurt that much worse. But that's the only way to do it. And that's the way we've done it. And that's the way we're going to continue to do it, because frankly, there's no other way to do it. The pain and the frustration and trying to understand the why, those things you all feel, we feel it even worse. And it's difficult, but there's basically no other way around it other than recognizing that and trying to move forward with it. Because that's all we can do, right, Billy? That's all we can do.
And we've been tasked with that. And you know what, Armin and I have, and I'll speak for you on this one. I apologize.
No, go ahead. I like when you do.
I think we've worked our entire lives to be in this position.
Yes, exactly.
So John said it yesterday, and I thought it was amazing to point out. He's like, I've been cut 5 times in my life, and he lumps the 2 careers together, and they're different. However, in sports and in our broadcasting industry, a lot of times you get the best opportunity from the most uncomfortable situation. And so Armin and I have a hell of an opportunity. And you guys as listeners, as Packers fans in the middle of the season, hey, man, we understand. A lot of options, a lot of opportunities. This one's going to be different. I will say that right now, that this will be different than what else you're getting. And I personally will say, I think it will be better than what you're going to get from the others around, because this one's true, it's authentic, and just what we just mentioned, it's a family feel. And we lost one of our brothers, and that one really, really hurts.
Yeah.
And there's a old saying, and I've heard it a bunch of times, You never meet your heroes. John was a hero to a lot of Packers fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of those that met him, this is going to sound like he died.
No, he didn't. He's still there. He's still laughing at
Guess
us right
what?
now. Yeah.
John's going to be on the sidelines for the Packers-Bears game.
Yep.
And we're going to be able to hear him right here on the Packers Radio Network.
Absolutely.
But anybody that got to meet John enjoyed and had themselves a great time because he was a real dude.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very, very unique, I think, in his position to always be truly authentic. And that's why this one hurts as much as it does, because we lost the real one yesterday.
When we always talked about football in his career, and we always talked about being a Packer and being in the NFL. John never took it for granted. He always would say he never took it for granted because he never got drafted. He had to earn his way up. He had to do it from a D2 school, all these things. But what did John always say? It's the best part-time job I ever had, right? And I think a lot of us in radio know that it's very similar because of the nature of the business, because of the transience of it and the turbulence of the business. These are rented chairs. You know what
always
I mean?
have been, always will be.
These are rented chairs. So as long as we can fill them, we're thankful, but we also know the realities of it. But Billy, I got to say, I've been doing radio a long time now, which is weird because I don't think of myself as old, even though I'm getting old now. I don't like that. I don't like getting old. I don't think of myself that way, but being at a couple stations and now, I've been here in this building over 10 years now, which is wild to think all the things that have happened.
That's right. You got a $25 gift card.
I did. I love that. By the way, it was a great dinner. Change is constant, but so made me laugh now, Billy. Change is constant, but it still never ceases to shock you sometimes.
Yeah.
And I almost get mad at myself sometimes when I still get shocked at it, but I can't help it sometimes when it does. So that's just and there's a lot of stations that are feeling what we're feeling today. Across the country.
And that's the thing.
Ones. A lot of people are feeling the loss of their family.
There was upwards of what? A couple hundred people across the country, across the iHeart platform. Mm-hmm. So it is there's a lot of crossovers in different industries and different businesses. There's a lot of people that work in the corporate world that are saying, yeah, been there, guys.
Yeah.
Heard it. And all you can do is continue to roll through.
And I got my brother Billy here, and that's what we're gonna do. And
that's what I'm
makes
saying.
Me feel good. I was looking forward to seeing you today, man. I did. You don't even know. I was looking forward to seeing you today. So,
well, I appreciate that, brother, because it's gonna be I said it's gonna be one of the strangest days of work ever.
Sure.
Made a lot better because Armin Sarian is gonna be here. So that if there's any team that you need to be a part of, you need to have an Armin Sarian, and you can't have him because he's right here on this.
I appreciate you. And I know a lot of people reaching out with tweets and texts, like you said, positive or negative. You got to get your feelings out.
Get them out, man. And trust me,
if we don't respond, we're still reading them.
We're reading them. Okay. We're seeing them. And again, maybe this is just me. Again, I won't speak for you the entire time we do this show. I will at certain points speak for you. Hey, man. I'm not taking any of it all that personally, right? Like, we understand where the situation is.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have thrown that in here and hey, don't take this personally. Don't worry about it, man.
Well, we'll try not to, right?
We'll try not to.
Just give us a chance.
Give us a chance. And also know that when Tim Allen stops by in 45 minutes from right now, we're going to be talking about 3 planned vacation days next week. So we just want to let you know.
That's a great point.
There are going to be planned vacation days coming up. When you get changed like this, you can get a little nervous.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff comes.
Pre-planned days off.
There will be pre-planned days off.
When you don't hear us for the next week. When you don't hear us next week for the first few days, that's supposed to happen.
That's supposed to happen.
That's supposed to happen.
This one was not supposed to happen. And, some would say, and I'll say it probably shouldn't happen. But sadly, I don't make those decisions. Don't get entrusted with them. Not even close to that spot. And frankly, I don't really think I want to be in that position because I wouldn't want that on my hands. So we appreciate everybody on the NicolayLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. Appreciate you guys listening to us vent those emotions out. It'll be an emotional day here today. We are going to have some fun though, however, because there's a big thing coming up here today. Did you hear that there's a big thing coming up here today?
There's something big going on.
Big thing going on today.
Yeah.
NFL trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Huge.
Oh, sorry. Day. That's not what people were thinking.
Oh, really? I thought it was the NFL trade deadline. Name's already moving. So
first 12 in the college football playoff. That's what it is.
So people are focused
First college football playoff rankings come out today. That's all that people are worried about tonight.
College basketball started last night.
How about that?
It's a lot going on.
A couple of wins for the home team.
That's what everybody knew they were going to wake up thinking about on November 5th.
Yes. They were worried that, hey, man, I'm going to have all these takes on Wisconsin Holy Cross.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that I'm ready to go. And we're ready for you on the NicolayLaw.com talking text line, 877-794-1973. He's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmid. Schmid and Sarian statewide on the game. We'll be back right after this.
Come down and waste away with me. Down with me. Slow out. You wanted it to be. I'm over my head, out of the hedge you stand. And I wonder, when I sing along with you, if everything could ever be this way forever. If anything could ever be this good again. The only thing I'll ever ask of you, you gotta promise not to stop when I say
rapper Kenny Hot. I spit it through the wire, man. There's too much stuff on my heart right now, man. I gladly risk it all right now. It's a life or death situation, man. Y'all don't really understand how I feel right now, man. It's your boy Kanye Chitter. Shot-town, what's going on?
9 to noon. Still, I'm Billy Schmid along with Armin Sarian. This is 97.3 The Game network of stations across the country, and the iHeart Radio app, streaming live on YouTube and X. What's up? X going to be a hot place today, Armin. X going to be a hot place today.
Oh, you don't say.
For a number of different reasons.
You don't say.
The one that we care most about, the NFL trade deadline,
absolutely
will heat up X here today, and also, our beautiful faces on streaming live on X. Always fire up people's days at the Game MKE.
That's
on
what
X.
I heard. That's what I heard. I heard
told
they watch us because we're good looking. That's what I heard, and that's what I appreciate. Got a whole thing going on with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, listen. I mean,
sex sells, man. And
sex sells. Riz game goes, man.
And
it makes sense.
Listen,
we're doing this at 9 a.m. when there is a kid making money calling himself the Rizzler.
That's
millions.
Amazing.
Just think about that.
And you know what? He's in business for himself, so that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
The Rizzler. Hey, who is that? That's the kid. That's not the guy that goes and pranks people, right? That's a different.
I don't believe so.
That's a different guy.
I think that's a different guy.
Yeah, it's a different.
I think
guy.
the Rizzler is related to the Costco guys, the dad and son AJ, and the guys that got the thing on the boom scale.
It's a different world out there. Let me tell you.
Listen, you might be old. You're not on TikTok enough. You got to get on there and be able to find it. But stay on X here today. Stay on X here today and learn all the information that's flying around, and the stories and the trades that already have come down here today. Big one in the NFC, the one that I think was potentially the worst kept secret in football.
Yeah,
was that Zadarius Smith was going to get traded. He ends up getting traded to the Lions. Now, we've tongue in cheek said it a couple of different times. That it would make sense to potentially get a pass rusher here in Green Bay. Knew it wasn't going to be Zadarius Smith with how toxically that ended up at 1265.
Well, he's out of places to go in the NFC North now.
Yeah.
That's all there is to
However,
it,
he wants to go to Lions because he
Yeah.
wants to prove the Vikings and Packers wrong, and he does here today in a trade.
Anybody he can prove wrong, anybody that's left.
Good for him.
Basically. So let's see if he gets fired up and plays hard. I'm curious to see that. I really am.
He goes, Zadarius and a 7th round pick in 2026 go to Detroit for a 2025 5th and a 2026 6th. So a little bit of a pick swap, essentially a 5th round pick. Gets you Zadarius Smith, and then also earlier on today, the former 39th overall pick in the draft, wide receiver Jonathan Mingo.
I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. Big. Yeah. I know you got all his albums. He gets traded from the Carolina Panthers to the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones said on his radio interview, we're going to trade for a wide receiver.
We're going to get somebody.
We're going to trade for a wide receiver that we've liked for a long time. We've liked him ever since he was in college. All right. Big fan of him in college. And we're finally going to go get him. Well, they go and get him, and frankly, somebody that I don't know a whole lot of people were wondering was going to get traded and or cared if ended up getting traded. But Mingo and a 7th go to the Panthers for a 4th, and the other move today, your boy Khalil Herbert gets traded from the Bears to the Bengals. They just lost one of their running backs. Khalil Herbert had the prayer hands, said, Thank you, God. Hashtag Houday. Thank you, God.
So
get me out of Chicago. It's clearly
7th.
a strange situation down there in Chicago, but it looks like we're going to get a more active trade deadline arm here in the NFL than we usually do.
Well, that's kind of the thing that I'm reflecting on that I think is interesting is that the trade deadline in the NFL used to never be something we paid that much attention to, right? You know what I mean, Billy?
Never.
It used to never be that. It was more of it was like the baseball trade deadline was the big one. The NBA trades happen in the offseason usually, sometimes, or sometimes trade
right
deadline
before camp. Yeah.
And the NFL trade deadline was an afterthought. I remember years back, it was I'm blanking now on the tight end. That there was a tight end that the Niners got. I'm blanking, but that was like the only move. He had like one catch the rest of the year. Just wasn't a thing. But I think it's changing a little bit. And I wonder if there's a couple reasons for that. I wonder if teams now see themselves as contenders because of the extra playoff spot more than they used to. There's an extra playoff spot. There's so much parity in the NFL. that you have to be almost you have to be really bad, one of the worst teams to truly think you're out of it in week 8, week 9, Billy. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where this might become a thing. The NFL culture might change where the trade deadline might become more of a factor than it ever has before.
They've moved it back intentionally to try to drum up more interest, get more action. And I also think we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think the league wants more teams to feel like they can generate a little bit of an arms race and get themselves into a position where they can make the playoffs, right? They want there to be, I know you don't like it in baseball. We're going to talk a little baseball in 30 minutes when Tim Allen joins us. Give us we need a little cheer. Tim Allen's going to stop by. He's patented positivity. He's going to give us some good news in the doldrums of the baseball offseason, but there's some good awards for the Brewers. And some of the thought that in baseball, they were able to keep like 20-something teams realistically involved and engaged in the season. Whereas when they had the waiver deal at the end of August, you didn't have the additional playoff spots. You were selling like with half of your team.
Sure.
Half of your teams were off selling at the deadline. I think the NFL wants more of those. Yeah. So that's why they've pushed it back. They want to feel like they can get some action. They want to be able to get some headlines here on Tuesday. They like when the Jets were winning Tuesday throughout October, but now into November today, this Tuesday, that otherwise Fox and CNN would be dominating. They're like, hey, can we squeeze ourselves in here?
Yeah.
We've already taken Christmas Day from the NBA. What else can we take? Election Day from the news stations? We're in.
Which they want to do. They want to be the Godzilla to eat up all the calendar, all of your interest, everything to capture your eyes all the way, Billy. And you know what's it's kind of funny because I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the thinking, because I think they're recognizing that so much of the sports discourse now is not about games on Twitter or on social media, or it's about trades, it's about off the field, it's about off season, it's about conversations about teams that goes on social media, and trade deadline helps that. It's not just the game. I mean, the NBA has built up a cottage industry, Billy, I think, of free agency, trade requests, beef in the NBA, who's beefing with who wants to join up with who's on what banana boat. That fills up there, but that fills the discourse in an otherwise, from a lot of casual viewers, boring regular season, where games are being played and they do matter to an extent, and NBA fans do care about them and do watch them. But for a lot of people, they're an afterthought based on the bigger picture of who's joining up with who's banana boating, all that stuff, because that's the kind of the storylines, right? And like who's talking about who on social media, or what tweet did Kevin Durant like, which you can't see anymore, but but you get my point. So I think the NFL sees some of that and says, hey, let's get in on that conversation as well.
It makes sense.
Yeah, they don't want anyone else to have the attention except for them.
Well, and also they want a little bit of TMZ action in their league, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you hit it right on the head. There was a good run of like 6 to 7 years in the NBA. We might still be in it because the regular season has even the most lively of NBA fans. I'm struggling right now, so early into the NBA season.
And that's not just because of the Bucks.
Not just because of the Bucks.
Oh, gosh.
Last night was that frustrating?
It will only get worse, Billy. You know what I mean?
116, 114.
Couldn't get any worse. Like
the only way that got worse is if you had the under.
Yes.
And when AJ Green hits the half quarter at the horn,
you're right.
You lose. That's the only way it gets worse, is if you had the under, if you're a Bucks fan. But like you see for a long time, NBA's favorite non-playoff headlines were July 1st, when free agency would open.
Sure.
And like you mentioned,
playoffs and stuff, right?
Monitoring season.
Yeah, monitoring. Yeah.
Monitoring season. Teams are monitoring the Giannis situation.
Monitoring.
Teams are monitoring the Phoenix situation. So the NFL wants a little bit of this. And as we're mentioning, Josina Anderson just said, I'm told the trade talks for the Saints star cornerback Marshawn Lattimore are, quote, warming up, and that multiple people are involved. So that could be interesting. The Marshawn Lattimore would be a very interesting piece to be able to come to Green Bay. It's one that I think many have voiced a question about. Now, he's going to come with a big old cap hit. And actually, I believe he would cost more for the Saints to trade now against the cap than it would for them to keep him and then cut him in the offseason. But the Saints just fired their coach. They're 2-7. They've lost 7 straight games.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're all that worried about maybe saving the $12 million, Armin, knowing we're probably drafting a quarterback in the top 5 of the draft. We're going to move on. That could be a spot where the Packers could grab, and they desperately could use some help there in the secondary.
And that's what it seems to be now. What it used to be in baseball, where you have to find those teams, right, Billy, that are out of it. You have to convince them they're out of it, and then they can help themselves more by moving. It's not easy for everybody. Don't forget, just 12 months ago, the Packers were in a very similar situation at 2-5, at 3-6, Billy, maybe thinking, maybe we should be sellers here and keep rebuilding. The next thing you know, Jordan Love and the Packers go on a heater and make a playoff spot, go down to Jerry World and win. So you never know what could happen. I think it's hard for coaches because they know that their jobs can be on the line at any time. So they want to constantly compete and try and win. It's hard for players to just say, we're going to stop. Players aren't going to stop competing and trying to win. And it's hard for GMs and owners to accept failure, Billy. I think that's another thing. But sometimes that discretion is a better part of valor. And that's the teams you go for, and you try and maybe see what kind of opportunity is there for personnel to get those guys. So
I'm just reading more and more because there's more conversation about the Dallas trade. Amari Cooper went for a 3rd round pick, and Dallas just traded for Jonathan Mingo. For a 4th. And I'm sorry.
The value.
I apologize to Jonathan Mingo's family if they're listening here, but not quite comparable. Sorry, I went Jonathan Mingo and it ended up on a very, very strange looking politician here. That's going to be November 5th.
Well, maybe that's weird day for that.
That's going to be November 5th. But you're trading for, now granted, he's 23 years old, so it's a different cat, but you're trading for a guy that's got 55 catches. So it's a unique place. There's not necessarily a lot of stars. However, we just watched DeAndre Hopkins last night and looked like that one's going to work out for Kansas City. Looked like that one's going to play out very well for the Chiefs when all of a sudden they're seeing a Remember the Titans dance for the first touchdown scored by Kansas City last night. And it's DeAndre Hopkins, and they desperately needed some help. They go get it. I think you're going to see more teams do it. You see the Lions do it today with Zadarius Smith. He's officially going to Detroit. I wonder if the Packers match. I wonder if the Packers make a move, because it just seems like there's teams in the NFC that are going to get anxious.
Sure.
And don't sleep on the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know what their cap situation is. I don't know what their situation is, but they got one last chance, it feels like, with this group. They got one real chance here. They're juicing up and they're oiling up Christian McCaffrey. He's going to play this weekend. He's returning to practice today.
Pause. Yeah, they're oiling him up. Yeah, exactly. He's going to finally.
Great use of the pause button, Armin. Great use of the pause button.
Which he's been.
We need it on days like today.
We do. And listen, if McCaffrey, if he's going to play, there have been fantasy owners waiting for this for so long.
Oh, yeah.
For so long.
Oh, yeah.
There have been fantasy owners who drafted him first overall, that have been waiting for him to do anything and anything for their team. So please, yes. But they are. And you know what, Billy? The NFC West is not very good. We know that.
It's wide open.
It's wide open. It's one of those divisions where you go get it and you never know what could happen. Everybody is available to win that division stuff. But it's the 49ers, you may be right. They're a talented team, and Kyle Shanahan's good. But we've been talking about that for a long, long, long time, and they still haven't won a Super Bowl. So this might be, I don't want to say their last run at it, but yeah, you have a good point. This is it's getting to be that point.
It's getting to the point where they're going to be closer to the end than the beginning, and that's a fascinating one. All right, multiple people on Talking Text Line. This is what we're talking about, Brian. How about a package deal, Lattimore and Cam Jordan? Okay. I know unrealistic, but hey,
make it happen. This is dreaming.
Throw
it in there. This is dream season. This is
Bear and Beaver Dam.
We
need a corner, and who's out there that's available can help us immediately. That'd be Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore would be able to help you immediately. There's also the Greg Newsome name that's gotten thrown around. We'll have a couple more that we'll bring to you throughout the day, and more information that we continue to get. We'll always be able to pass it along to you where you're monitoring all throughout the day on social medias, be able to get all the updates. And appears like the Dallas Cowboys right now might be the best story coming off of the trade deadline. They also have bad news coming from Jerry Jones' press conference. Dak Prescott going to miss at least 4 games. He's going on IR with that hamstring injury. So you want to talk about fantasy owners, keep a heads up for that. Keep your ears open for Tim Allen. He stops by in 20 minutes from right now. We mentioned that game last night. Now 8-0 Kansas City Chiefs, Baker and the Bucks. maybe leave some meat on the bone and leave a great sports radio conversation. Did they miss their opportunity to give the Chiefs their first L of the season? We'll discuss it coming up. It's Sarian and Schmid. It's right here on The Game.
Sorry, I cannot sleep, I cannot dream tonight.
Hey guys, it's Underdog Fantasy, the place to be playing if you're a sports fan wanting to win money while watching sports. Guys, I'm Billy Schmid, and I'm one of the over 5 million happy players. I wish I could say that I'm really a part of the $2 billion won, but hopefully then I start winning, and then you can say that. But Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. You can make a play for only $1 or go win big. Their pick'em game is awesome. Best way to watch games throughout the weekend. Also, you can mix and match. They got NFL and NBA. You can do a combination of the two. Want to stick just basketball? Go ahead. Want to go just football? Go ahead. Underdog puts the power in your hands to create your own experience. And with their double flex option, you can even take 2 L's and still have your entry be a winner. Choose from first quarter, first half, full game projections. There's so many to choose from. You can even go in-game projections on the Underdog Fantasy app. My wife's the winner in the house on the Underdog Fantasy app, so I'm trying to get some of that good juju to rub off on me. But luckily, Underdog makes it easy to win. This season, they're running a special promo or bonus almost every single day. Underdog has profit boosts that pump up your winnings in just a tap when you apply a boost to eligible entries. Discounts, you'll get adjusted projections on certain player stats to give you a better shot at a big W, and free picks, they're basically a sure thing. A player just has to get higher than a half a point for a stat to win. And all new users get a free pick. What's better than that? Go download the app today, sign up with promo code Billy, Billy, and deposit now. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's it. Promo code Billy. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. That's beyond impressive.
Very impressive.
Beyond impressive last night in the third quarter from the Manning cast.
Best highlight. I was gonna. I play the winning touchdown highlight. No, I'm playing Eli doing the headstand. And I'll tell you what, Eli is out there doing headstands. I'm impressed. People might look at him as a goofball guy that want to.
I think many people do. Yeah,
which he kind of can be, which is kind of cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a goofball.
No, gotta have some fun in life.
A guy that was good, won Super Bowls, wasn't as good as his brother, but it was still really good.
Might make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, might. But you know what? My man's out there popping headstands there on TV like it was no big deal.
Awesome.
Yeah, of course, he still couldn't pay for fish tacos. But hey, right, John? But hey, whatever. I mean, he's out there popping headstands, and he impressed Sudeikis, which I thought was pretty good.
He did impress Jason
Sudeikis.
Ted Lasso was very, very happy with that move that he was able to show there. And it's an impressive move. Don't get me wrong. I also think the game in itself is kind of impressive from the standpoint of the Chiefs, again, don't play particularly great. However, they win.
Yeah.
Mahomes gets helped off the field, and then all of a sudden out of the medical tents just laughing with Andy Reid like, oh, man, did I get him on that one?
Well, that was the point.
I got him on that one.
That was the point where it's like, okay, well, an injury, this could change everything for the Chiefs. Like, is this the time? Early in the game, they missed a good opportunity to touchdown, but then they got one with DeAndre, which was amazing, by the way. I don't know if you saw that one, Billy. That was an amazing one. The DeAndre score of the Hopkins.
Amazing.
What a pickup for them. And then, blue tent, whatever. Boom, I'm out. I'm all fine. Good. I'm going to win this game. I'll be back next week. He's just a different one, man. Patrick's just a different one. As much as you try and replicate greatness, it's hard,
Dude, and Baker Mayfield played his absolute ass off.
He had a great game. Baker had a great game. He had his team focused.
He's been one of
the
better quarterbacks in football all year.
And all his boys were out,
And Baker,
missing 2 receivers, obviously.
And that still shot of Baker looking after they lose the coin toss. He looks up in the air. He's like,
he knew.
I'm just going to go take a shower. Like, there's no way they're not scoring a touchdown.
Maybe
they're getting this bad boy and this thing's over.
You know what? Maybe Chad was right about coin tosses. You ever think of that?
Maybe.
Billy?
Yeah.
Maybe
on the day that I clown somebody for saying get rid of the coin toss.
Clowned, maybe he was right about the
Baker's like, I'm listening to this 9 to noon show in Milwaukee, and this genius comes up with an idea to get rid of the coin toss. It would have saved us last night.
Yeah,
we would have gotten the ball first.
Yeah, man. No, he played really well. And the thing is, he was down, down receivers on the road. You got to give Baker a lot of credit for having his guys ready.
Would you have gone for 2 of your bowls? 30 seconds to go. You just score the touchdown to go and win the game.
I think it's worth it there to take that chance. Now, that's easy to say sitting here after you lose.
Very much
just like it was easy to say in 2016 when the Packers come back with the Jeff Janis plays. They should have gone
15,
for 2.
Yep.
But there's so much we don't know exactly. Like there's so much we didn't know about that. Like McCarthy didn't have any plays for 2 receiver sets. And he only had 2 healthy receivers at that time.
Right.
John always tells us about the coin toss that Calais Campbell was upset about. Like there was a lot going on in that game that we didn't think about. So there might have been something going on last night, but all things being equal, I think that's when you take the chance to go for 2 and go for a win, especially knowing you might not get the ball back, especially knowing you're on the road. You got a chance to slay this dragon who might never lose again. The Chiefs might never lose again. And I don't care who it is, what it is, what sport it is. I'm not betting against the Chiefs.
I can't do it. No, I can't do it.
I might lose. If I lose, I'll take the L. So be it betting against the Chiefs. Like that's just the way it is. You know what I mean?
I was proud of myself. Stayed away from last night's game.
I'm really proud of you, Billy.
That rarely happens on prime time.
Well, that's because you know you got to save up for next week. Let's be honest.
That's true. Got to save up for the weekend. But also part of it was what you just said. I like Tampa. I like catching 9.5. You know what I don't like doing? Betting against Patrick Mahomes on prime time at Arrowhead.
It's hard. Now they have
I'm just going to not do it.
They played a lot
better
of
for my health.
Close games, so the cover makes sense. But it's like, why even do it? Yeah, exactly.
But man, you got Kansas City's got all 3 timeouts. It's 27 seconds to go. They've looked good, not great all night. I'm pushing the accelerator down. I'm going. For me, generally, if there's more than like 45 seconds on the clock, then I'll play for overtime. But if it's inside of the final half minute to go, I think you try. I think you go and give it a shot, especially as a 9.5-point underdog.
Yeah.
With, like you mentioned, down Chris Godwin, down Mike Evans, everything stacked against you. You just go and tie the game on a long drive. You got their defense reeling a little bit, 10 plays. They've been on the field for a couple of minutes. I like the idea of going for it. I understand why they didn't, but I would have went for it.
It's one of those things where I think it's a situation where you have to be honest with yourself too, because you have to ask yourself, okay, we're on the road. Do we think we're better than the Chiefs? Do I think, in an overtime period we can outplay them? Because I think a lot of coaches think that way, and they say, "No, I'm not gonna go for 2 here because I've done all this work to tie it and give ourselves a chance to outplay them again."
Yeah.
Which a lot of coaches believe their team can outplay them. I think that's a situation where you say, you know what, I think we could do it, but I'd rather take the chance to win now if we can, and then do it. But again, you don't know what kind of plays they call, what looks there were. Maybe he doesn't like his 2-point play there. There's a lot of factors involved. It's hard to really know.
Yeah, there are.
I would have done it.
It's so tough when you know that there's a good chance you're not seeing that ball again.
Right. And you got a guy that you believe in. Baker's played well, put it in his hands.
And hell, they go and get the 2-point conversion. Still doesn't mean the Chiefs aren't winning the game, right? Chiefs very much could,
Absolutely.
and we've seen them do it so many different times, right? Ask the Bills, like you mentioned. And UPS Ben said, Patrick, throwing straight YOLO balls. And then they get caught at the 5 by Hopkins. Yeah, amazing talent. Amazingly lucky sometimes. Amazingly lucky that you can get that guy for a 5th-round pick.
Well,
that is a wild be able to move.
I think some things are quote unquote luck and some things aren't. Like, he yeeted it, but because he kind of had to. He was under pressure. I think it was a 3rd down. Throw deep. There's not much risk there. There were 3 defensive backs in the area, but Hopkins is really good too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
When he points the ball and he catches it, he's really good too. There's a little bit of fortune. It does feel like things go his way. It feels like he's a great player, and it also feels like things go Patrick's way too. So I don't really know how to interpret that. I think there's a point where he is sort of lucky, but there's no doubt he's really good too. And the Chiefs aren't afraid to go get somebody.
Not at all.
They got Hopkins, like you said, for 5th rounder. They went and made that move, and boom, he makes a play for
And
him.
I could see them doing another one here today.
Why not?
We'll keep our eyes peeled. I believe the deadline comes up at 5 tonight. 5 Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time today of the deadline in the NFL trades could be coming. Some Tristan Wausau Packers need to dump Preston Smith. He doesn't fit this defense. Add an edge and a corner. Nixon can't be our primary guy. He has hurt us more than he's helped us this year. There's been some games in which he's definitely helped you on the outside, but I could definitely see them going and grabbing somebody. We'll keep our eyes peeled there. But also, we got to answer this one from Steven Richfield. Fellas, when does MLB announce that Pat Murphy is the manager of the year in the National League? Could be very, very soon. This week is awards week. Tim Allen stops by today to give us his insight on the MLB awards. Not what's happening here today. Executive of the year yesterday goes to Matt Arnold. Any question there?
No, I don't think so.
Last time the Brewers had 2 Gold Glove winners. 1979.
Yes. Do you know who they were? I want to see if Tim knows.
I want to see if Timmy knows.
I know because I read it, so don't give me any credit. I do know, but it's because I read it. I don't want credit, all right?
I think you should take the credit.
Hey, it's voting day. It is election day.
It is election day.
Who are you voting for?
Get on out
Just
and vote.
kidding.
I am voting yes for the Whitnell referendum, and I sure hope my folks out in the Heartland area are voting yes for the school referendum there as well.
Let's get some nice facilities for our kids out here, all right? Let me tell you something.
I want these kids to swim in a better pool than I did.
And if you're like me and you went to Greenfield High and you were asking if you could vote against it just so they don't have a better pool than Greenfield, I did ask Billy before the show. I said, I don't want Whitnell to have everything better than Greenfield. We have a pool. Let us have the
greatest statements ever. How do I vote in your referendum to make sure you don't get a good pool?
Like, can you?
How dare you?
If you're on the east side of Greenfield, can you vote against it? I'm kidding. I think you should vote for the kids. That's the only thing. And I think I would
help
vote.
Our children.
I would vote for Alex Smith because he was a great commander and chief. Oh, you like that one? That's funny. I don't care who you are.
That was pretty well done.
But you get it?
I do.
You get it?
I don't want to let facts get in the way of a good story.
Well, he was actually
I don't know that he was know that he was a commander. But hey, don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That was a great one.
Commander and chief.
Because the Commanders and the Chiefs. And he played on both.
Someone out there is going to love that joke.
Somebody's rolling around dying, laughing to that one. Somebody is going to be just salivating when they hear this. Tim Allen, the franchise player, comes up next. It is Armin Sarian, Billy Schmidt. Tim Allen will join this conversation when we return. Talk some Brewers, talk some awards, good things for the crew, and a couple of moves that were a little head-scratching. Timmy's going to calm us down on those. You're on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973, voicing your frustrations, and we are very, very disappointed as well. It is the first hour, too, that we'll go without John Kuhn. Miss you, brother. We appreciate everybody being with us. That's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmidt. It's 9 to noon on The Game. Welcome back. Hour 2. Schmidt and Sarian with you on the game. That's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmidt. This hour of the program brought to you by Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Everybody relax. You need some Happy Place Hemp in your life. Listen, you might need to drift off into some happiness. It's been a long week already for many folks. It's going to be a long night for some. Drift into happiness with their Drift seltzers over at happyplacehemp.com or their CBN CBD gummies. Those can be for everyday use, or Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies if you're really trying to spice up your night and have some recreational fun. Go and grab those all at happyplacehemp.com. Make sure you use promo code Billy. Get 25% off your entire order every time at happyplacehemp.com. That's Armin Sari, and I'm Billy Schmidt. You're on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. We appreciate all the interaction there today. Positive, negative, indifferent, words of encouragement, words of frustration. We accept all of them and we appreciate all of them today. We appreciate all the feelings that you're having. We are going through all of them as well. Very strange day here on the game, but we bring you some of the best sports talk across the country, definitely the best in Wisconsin. And to do that, we bring in one of our favorites in the state of Wisconsin, our guy, the franchise player, Tim Allen. Timmy, appreciate you bringing some sunshine and rainbows this morning.
Indeed.
You're always good at that.
Yeah, we needed to talk to you today, Timmy. So we're happy to hear from you.
Yeah, lots of little nuggets, little Brewer nuggets, lots of them to dig into today on Brewing the offseason at 2 today.
Nice. And you know what? They're not just only nuggets. Now, the contract nuggets will be parts of it, but we like to celebrate some trophies. They're nice trophies. They're golden ones for Sal Frelick and Bryce Terang. We'll get to those in a second, but Matt Arnold wins maybe the award that I understand why people will say, and we already had somebody asking us today, Tim, when does Pat Murphy get named? I think Matt Arnold was almost more of the foregone conclusion in the building for Executive of the Year. That should have been an absolute runaway that he takes away last night.
And it probably was, because 93 wins, he takes over a couple of division titles, and then he gets paid off on this division title. Into the playoffs. Look at the moves that he made, though. You got to break down some of these these are major moves that he made in a season that was probably deemed as a little bit of a transition, or was it? You know, I don't know. That's probably a good question.
Good question.
From spring training. But you guys, in looking back on it, Mr. Executive of the Year, looking back on it heading into the 24 campaign, did you look at that as an adjustment, or was that, hey, pedal to the metal and we're trying to win a World Series? I wonder. My guess is that they were transitioning with a degree of competing, because you did sign Rhys Hoskins, and that was a big thing. You did trade Corbin Burns. That may have been a bigger thing. So all these moves, the Savali deal, Frankie Montas, Nick Mears, all these deals, you bring up these guys, you grab Hudson, you grab Koenig, you find these guys out of nowhere. Oh, so well deserving for him. And Billy, you might be right. More of a slam dunk maybe for him than it will be for Murph to get Manager of the Year.
You know, I think when you look at it too, it was not the pitching, it was the offense that really made this team what they were this year in terms of the wins. I mean, in the recent future, our pitching has been the kind of the hallmark of the team. And you mentioned, was it a transition year? Was it not? I think the Brewers believed they could be a playoff team. I really do. I think a lot from the outside maybe thought it was a transition year, but I think the Brewers really believe they could be a playoff team. And just their top WAR players. I mean, William Contreras was a huge contributor this year. That was directly the result of a very, well, it was the byproduct of a controversial trade, right? I mean, like, a lot of people didn't like the Hader trade. It turned into him. Terang had this resurgent year, especially, talk about the Gold Glove. Jackson Chourio, an absolute revelation, right? Choli transcendent, that signing, which worked out. Another guy, Tobias Myers, the rookie, Joey Ortiz, the young guys. It's amazing how things came together and how they built this team. It really is. Yeah.
Armin, they needed to make the playoffs. When you think about the bigger picture future for this core, that was a needed playoff appearance. Now think about that. Now, organically, these guys are going to be better. These younger dudes,
right?
They're going to get better. Garrett Mitchell's going to be a better ball player. Sal Frelick's going to be a better ball player. Joey Ortiz going to be better. And so just to have that, in their hip pocket to say that, we didn't reach our goal, but we still made the playoffs. That they needed this. And look at it the other way. They trade away Burns. Okay, they signed on a return to injury, Reese Hoskins. They signed a couple of guys, and they don't make the playoffs. Well, now we go into this year with an entirely different viewpoint, don't we?
Mm-hmm. And nothing is promised. I mean, you have a young core that really performed well, but that doesn't mean anything is guaranteed. I think the Cubs went into this season thinking the same way we might have been. Well, we've got this great young core. We have Dansby and Nico Horner and maybe, all these guys, Ian Happ and Saya, and it didn't work out for them this year. Of course.
PCA, so.
Yeah, I got you.
Well done on the drop right there.
It was. But it didn't work out the way they wanted it to. Now, it's one of those situations where nothing's guaranteed, but that's the position you put yourself in. Yeah. Right now, they going forward. The Brewers have this young core, no doubt about it.
They do, and all of these things we'll break down at 2 today. But you go back. I don't know if a lot of this stuff surprised anybody, except I'm a little surprised, guys. And I don't know how you guys feel. Well, I'll start with Reese Hoskins. So not surprising. This is what he said late in the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple. He said it. It's the type of group that you want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of talent here. Surprised everybody this year. I don't think we'll be a surprise next year.
Yep. No,
he said that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, 18 million bucks. Not walking away from that. Now, what you could be grabbing on the market, and I also think, Timmy, some of the dollars and cents is going to be a fascinating offseason for him, and Matt Arnold might have his work cut out for him even more coming up because there's going to be a change in their economic landscape because of the television deal. Like, it's just a fact of the matter. It's a large portion of money that would go into their salary cap. Absolutely, buying tickets is a huge part of it, but it's different when that source of revenue is now completely gone and MLB is doing it, where I know people were frustrated with Colin Ray walking out the door saying $5.5 million. Colin Ray had 200 innings. Sorry to jump the gun, but man, my man clears waivers. Nobody even wanted him for that, so it wasn't only them not paying $5.5 million for him.
He could ultimately re-sign, can he? I mean,
you would think,
keeping him from doing that. That to me was a little concerning at the amount of money. So it's $5.5 million, but you pay him $1 million to walk away. It's $4.5 million. Could have kept him at $4.5 million. Pitched 160 innings. Guys.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to make that up somewhere. We all know about pitching depth. Look at the LA Dodgers. They use 17 starting pitchers this season.
It's changed, isn't it? I mean, gone are the days where you have 3 or 4 horses pitching 220 innings for you.
Yep.
I mean, that 167 innings Colin Ray pitched is a lot these days. And you're right. You have to make that up. You have to find it in an era where there are not a lot of innings eaters anymore.
The offense, Armin, the offensive side of things, I really was happy that Hoskins made it official.
Mm-hmm.
You do have Yelich coming back. You're going to have to make up those power numbers from Willie Adames. So you got to make them up somewhere. You didn't want to lose what would the total be? 200 and something RBI, about 200 RBIs and 50 or 60 home runs
from Hoskins and Willie.
And Adames.
So it's about 200 RBI. I mean, you're looking at 82 plus 112, 194, and that would have been it would have been 58 homers. I mean, that's a lot right there.
That would have been a lot. So I think that minimizes the damage. You have Yelich coming back, so he's going to make up a little of that. And let's not forget, I don't think they're going to be settled with what they have now. I think you're probably going to see an offensive signing here. Now, is it going to be Bregman? Probably not. I mean, we're looking at big money.
That would be fun. Yeah,
it would be.
That would be fun.
It could be a Hassan Kim, which doesn't bring a lot of power numbers, but I think he fits the mold.
That's a good name
for Murphy.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
I like that we're already doing this
I
while
love
we're
it.
still potentially looking at the other move that is going to get made, and the one that you talked to me about, Timmy, the day after game 3, which becomes a little bit clearer, does it not, with the dropping of the club option in 2026 that Devin Williams going to get traded here in the offseason, it would appear, right, in his last year of control?
You would think. And how much would he warrant in arbitration? Is that about the going
I think they said
rate?
7.5 to 8.
Yeah, somewhere under that. So
yeah, a little under.
He can't be pleased. Him and his agent cannot be pleased.
No, absolutely not. But I do think that they're going to see an opportunity for him to go and get a clean slate and a bunch of saves in another environment and still be able to make him cash in on a bunch of money, right?
I say you package him with a player and you go out and get a little more of a need basis. So whatever they deem they need, third baseman, I would think would be the need right now, right?
Well, because you were talking last week on Brewing the offseason, and that'll come up today at 2 with Hunter, of do you just put Jackson Churio in right field and let him sit there for about 10 years?
Yeah.
The third baseman is going to be a little difficult if you're going to tell Sal Free, like, hey, man, I appreciate you just winning a Gold Glove. Why don't you get yourself into that infield
That
again?
is tough,
right? Like, that's going to be a tough
It is.
transition if they go that way, or if they just go younger again at third baseman and just decide to continue to double down on the youth.
Well, there's Monasterio, and there's that's what I'm thinking.
Heller's boy,
Kim
Tyler
over
Black.
there might be the way to go, but Yelich is not going to want to come in from left field.
No.
I mean, let's face it. Now, is he going to play a little bit less? Will he take a step back and say, yeah, okay, I'll take some for the team, but man, I want to play defense.
Wants to play.
He did speak up a few years ago about playing defense. He
Mhm.
did scoff at the idea of going to first base.
But
so
at times, will times change? Because I mean, that was a while ago. You know? And the thing is, these are good problems to have, right? A kind of a glut in the outfield, or but these are still problems to figure out.
And what do you do with Blake Perkins? I mean, is he just categorized as a fourth or fifth guy? I mean, there's some teams in baseball that would start him every game.
Oh, very true.
No doubt. I mean, you could. I mean, he does give value. And I love Sal. I love what he can bring to you defensively, but it puts you in a bind when you are looking for guys you're looking for more guys than spots. And even though Sal, now we know is a Gold Glover, doesn't hit enough to give you enough power from a corner outfield spot. So it is tempting to try and move him to third. But then the other question is Ortiz slide to short? Terang can play short, but Terang is a Gold Glover at second, right? So these are good problems to have, but there's still problems to figure out. And it is tough because a lot of it is going to depend on not how well they play the field, but how they can hit their position.
Bauer's gone, Bryce Wilson gone, Joe Ross gone.
That's a sneaky one too, Bryce Wilson, because he gave you 100 innings as well. He was sort of a workhorse as well of quality.
But I think that role can be, Armin, to your point, that can be taken by a little bit of this. Maybe a Mizorowski, maybe an Aaron Ashby.
Right.
I know they're targeted to eventually and ultimately be starting pitchers, but you can't go Freddie, Tobias, and then Tobias Myers is your two, and then across the board, it's all young guys. Look, Myers was a rookie last year. He's young. DL Hall, Aaron Ashby, Mizorowski, Carlos Rodriguez. I mean, Aaron Savali's in the mix here. He's going to be back.
Well, and the options that they have, Timmy, they also are, you mentioned with Tobias being a rookie and a fantastic year and an amazing bounce back year for his career. They have themselves covered if indeed there is some regression towards the mean with a couple of these cats, right?
They do. But I still think that pitching depth, are you sold on Ashby as a starter? Are you sold on Carlos Rodriguez? Does he slip into that,
I don't know that I'm sold on Aaron Ashby doing anything, especially pitching in the postseason.
He looked good out of the pen late in the season. He really did. He was impressive.
Yeah, he was. And you might have to come. I mean, it's like Nick Mears. I think about the same thing. He had the scoreless inning in game 3.
Poor Nick Mears. I mean, the amount of strays that I threw at that poor kid. Oh my God.
And then he stepped up.
Oh, it just dominates. And he's screaming at the top of his lungs, Timmy, suck it, Schmidt.
Yeah.
I heard you.
But all that was
lost day one.
All that was 3 outs. Like, we think about that being huge because it was in such a big game, but all it was 3 outs. We have no idea what he's going to do, but you plan for some of these guys. That's why I kind of did. One thing I didn't like was letting Jacob Eunice go. You know, I don't know if I like that because he was pitching pretty well. I think he still will be. That'd be one guy I wish we still had. But
so will that loss, Timmy, curtail your potential investment that happens here at the end of the week? As we are within a couple of days of you, me, and Armin Sarian descending upon one of our favorite places in the whole wide world, Las Vegas, Nevada, for the bye week this weekend. So is this going to curtail? And on Brewing the offseason today, 2 to 3 here on the game, will you let out what potential investments you'll be making on the Brewers coming up here in 2025?
I'm going to get creative.
I'm
going to get creative when I'm out there. And I love doing the futures and just to have that slip in your hand. And
yes,
I love doing it at Potawatomi as well. But it's, nice to have a little thing in your pocket when you land in Vegas to have a little slip.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell Billy when you're out there, this is a special occasion. So you're going to indulge a little more on some bets that might not be the greatest EV value, but that's okay. You're there to have a little fun. When you go on one
also to have a good reason to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, because if you win one of those futures tickets, son of a gun, I have to go.
Sorry, I know you. But listen, I got a $9 winning ticket here at the cash, so
it says you can mail it in.
I don't know how to.
I don't know how that works.
I don't want to risk it.
Right, it's not like you forgot a slot voucher for $14 at Harrah's or something. You have to make it. You have to make it big enough on the futures. This is just what I do. Make it big enough so it kind of pays the hotel and airfare.
Sure,
exactly. I'm actually, it's paying for my trip. This is a work trip. I can't,
That's how my brother-in-law did it. Now my brother-in-law is going to be leaving the morning after my sister's birthday, so he had to make sure that there was a large enough voucher for Venetian for him to be able to say, "Oh, you know what? It's within 3 weeks. I gotta go. I gotta go."
Yes. Now on the show today at 2, we'll get into all this stuff. Also, the power rankings from both USA Today and ESPN. I follow those, as everyone knows, all year long on the post-game show. I give you one line of one of the polls. We'll get into it at 2 again. It just says, the young core is crazy good.
Ooh. Oh, like that. Okay. Yeah. We like that. We like that deal.
And they're right. These guys, we forget, these guys aren't just, one. There's multiples of these guys, and they're all good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, none of them have turned into Keston Hira yet.
Keyword yet.
Yeah, but Keston didn't turn to Keston until after
keyword
his
yet.
Year,
keyword yet, Timmy. You and I were doing that post-game show, pumping our fists, saying, dude, you extrapolate this one half of the season numbers, and my man's hitting 35 homers and 110 RBI.
It was such a good, and you guys,
this guy's going to have a 900 OPS and go to the All-Star game 7 times.
Skills off the charts.
And you guys know I was begging for second and third chances for Keston for the
that
last
would have been
3
good.
years. It just didn't happen. Now, well, Weimer, I guess you could say.
You're still waiting for maybe. Hey, listen, non-roster invite for Keston here to spring training.
Why not?
One final investment that you and I had against each other, Timmy, TK, and Grafton, asked about Woodruff's timeline. If Brandon Woodruff pitches in 2025, do I then win our personal bet that he has a better Brewers run than Corbin Burns because he lasts
Brewers
longer?
Run, or was it just better pitcher? I don't know if we defined what jersey was on.
Yeah, maybe we didn't define that. I think I defined it that way, especially in later corrective vision, corrective analysis. That's where I'm able to go and say, you know what? I think that's what we meant. I think that's what we meant in a Brewers uniform.
Better
best
Brewers
pitcher
career.
in a Brewers uniform.
Yeah.
Well, what if Woody comes back and his comeback player of the year in the National League?
Oh, yeah. You already just read my mind for the investment that I'll be making in Las Vegas.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, that sort of creativity.
Yes.
That is what we're looking at. Yes.
All right. Well, luckily we'll have a lot of slot machines, a lot of video poker time, and I would assume a lot of drinks to be able to discuss which of these we're going to make.
There'll be, as we always say on our trips to the promised land in Las Vegas, we will make sure we attend church services, help feed the needy.
That's why we're going on Sunday
along the road.
Yep, exactly. That's why we're going on Sundays.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you could, the last time the Brewers had 2 Gold Glovers was 79. I had to ask if you were going to ask if you knew. It's a trivia for you. 2 Gold Glovers in 79.
Yount and Lescano?
You got one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was Sixto Lescano and Cecil Cooper.
And Coop.
Yeah.
God dang it. Should have known that. But, Yeah, I took the spot of my boy George Scott, one of my first favorite
Boomer.
Who
Brewers.
was just winning them left and right.
Yeah,
Timmy, I was
five of 'em.
unfamiliar with George Scott's game. I thought George Scott's most famous thing was that George Scott didn't carry his own bag, and George Scott was a amazing personality. I'm fully missed out on my man's electricity over at first base.
He was a vacuum. He had the scoop, man. He had the splits going. They're really, really good.
Cool dude too. Some people would say George Scott, Tim Allen, two favorite people if they've ever been able
We
to
look
talk first
alike,
baseball
too.
live. Very much so. Yeah,
Nice.
very much so.
1979 American League Gold Glove winner shortstop was Rick Burleson.
Burleson.
Never
okay.
heard of him.
Yeah.
No?
I didn't. I heard Tom Burleson. He was the
Angel
best.
and an Oriole.
He
Man,
was
I can't
that.
wait for you guys to just rip off Baseball Reference from 1984 sitting at Luxor Casino for the next 5 days.
Don't excite me.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Cannot wait. Timmy, we can't wait. We'll be listening today at 2. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
That's Tim Allen of the Baseball Postgame Show. After Brewers games all year long, also brewing the offseason Tuesdays 2 to 3. Happens right after Carry the G Radio, which myself and Aaron Nagler will preside over today. Also includes A.J. Dillon at 12:30 today when that Packers running back stops by and hangs out with us here on Carry the G Radio. That's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmid. This is Schmid and Sarian, technically still 9 to noon here on the game.
Come on. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor and even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking.
A lot of changes. I'm Billy Schmid. That's Armin Sarian. Schmid and Sarian here on The Game with you. Appreciate everybody on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. Changes coming to the coaching staff for the Las Vegas Raiders. Tom Pelissero, the Arrow, along with Ian Rappaport, reporting this morning while we were on with Tim Allen. Armin, former Raiders coach Norv Turner,
oh boy,
coming out of retirement to join the Las Vegas remodeled offensive staff. Norv's son Scott Turner is a top candidate to handle the play calling duties after Luke Getze was fired. So it's a family reunion. He's like, hey man, I'll call the plays, but I need Pops in here to let me know exactly what I'm doing, make sure that I'm doing it all right, and potentially be looking over my shoulder.
Dad, I'm gonna paint the garage. Can you mind coming over to help me to make
sure
just
help me out, just making sure that I'm doing everything all right?
Yeah, Dad, I'm thinking of trying to open a CD up at the bank or whatever. You mind coming by to make sure my mortgage works correctly? And Norv Turner.
It does feel like, hey man, I'm hanging I got some floating shelves here that we were trying to put together. Would you be able to make sure that we got this good? Make sure that this works.
What year is this? I'm just trying to check the calendar. Oh, okay. All right. I just don't know what year this is. Norv Turner's coaching again.
Last time Norv Turner had a top 10 offense and points scored, 2011.
Yes, you might remember him. Yes, you might remember him from the 2018 Carolina Panthers.
Oh my God. I mean, like, that is way, way back in the day for Norv Turner. Coming out of retirement.
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of musicians that haven't had a top hit for years, but they still put out albums. All right.
That's true.
All right,
they're always playing their new stuff.
They're still working. All right. Hey,
go to a show where we got something off our new album.
Hey, we're going to Sister Hazel. Hey, we're going to play some of our new stuff. You guys have new stuff. We want to hear the 2 hits you got. Okay.
That's why we came here. That's why we still know who you are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a tough deal.
But you know what? He's trying to help out his boy, which I appreciate. Norv Turner's coming back. You know what? The Raiders, man, they've been fired up. Luke Getze, never knew you.
Letting everybody go. My favorite, I think, of the reports on it was from Ian Rappaport, where he goes, really smart move by the Raiders. Added bonus, Norv gets to move closer to the grandchildren. Well, now that is just a lovely thought.
It's a positive in everything.
That's lovely. What a beautiful one. Dad's coming in. Oh, Grandpa's going to be at work today.
You guys, Grandpa's going to be moving here closer. Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Strange.
Yeah, Grandpa's moving. Hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, maybe we'll see him out there, Billy. You never know.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that is pretty wild, though. So more changes there. Okay, some news popping.
And the news will continue to flow. 3:00 Central, the trade deadline in the NFL. Now, there's other people that have been pushing this out. Now, the Bukowski bot has let him know that my understanding, based on what I've been told, is the Packers are listening to offers on Preston Smith, but not shopping him. That's what it was.
That's what Bukowski's been told?
That's what Peter Bukowski's been told. That's what his understanding is.
His understanding.
Based on what he's been told. But they're open to the idea of trading him because they want an upgraded pass rusher. So I don't know exactly what that means. That means that they think that they're going to get somebody better and then trade him. So then there could be 2 moves coming here. I would think that it makes a lot more sense for them to make no moves than 2 moves.
Sure.
The Preston Smith smoke hasn't made a whole lot of sense to me to begin with.
I don't think that's a move to get better. I think that's a move to offload something that's not an asset anymore. That's
or to like open up a pathway for a young player to play, but like it's not like Van Ness and Agbare have played their way onto the field consistently.
Don't you think if the Packers had a guy they wanted to play, they'd have him in there though?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, emotions be damned. I mean, that's what.
Aaron Mosby half sack. Maybe that's what this is. Clear the way for him.
Jeff Saturday was a Green Bay Packer, and the Packers said, "You know what? Corey's better. Lindsey's better. We're putting him in there." That's just the way it is. The Packers are going to play who they think is better, and I don't think they're going to consider Preston's feelings in that regard. I think it's a matter of if somebody wants Preston, maybe we can offload him because we. And that's why maybe it doesn't make sense, but I don't think it's a move to get better in that sense, in the short term, so to speak. So.
No, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're potentially looking to add to then take away from that position. Now, the young man from New York is the one that everybody is excited about, Azeez Ojulari, the pass rusher for the Giants. That seems like he will also potentially be on the move. I know that Zadarius Smith already traded earlier today from the Browns to the Lions. That was something that was going to work. That was something that was going to happen here. It was in the works for the last couple of weeks. But I am interested to find out how many more moves end up getting made, because there's so much smoke here. There's 4.5 hours or so until it culminates, that it does seem like some teams are going to get a little bit anxious. Now, will the big names go? No, it doesn't seem like Max Crosby. Doesn't seem like those are going. But this Marshawn Lattimore name is a fascinating one for the Packers. Fascinating one for the Packers.
And, you know, we talked to Matt Schneider, and he keeps saying the same thing, and I get why. He's like, this is the Green Bay Packers. Come on, they're not going to do anything. But you know what? There's a couple things that are different. You know, we've seen Gutekunst act differently in the offseason for free agency.
Big time.
There's no reason to think he might adjust the way he's thinking now that the industry is changing in the NFL. There's no really telling that he might not jump in there as well. I'm sure they're going to be talking and at least fielding and listening and probing. The question is, it's going to take a lot for a deal to come together. But they do have the cap space, Billy, right? It's not out of the question to do something. So,
and the other report for the Marshawn Lattimore name, which is the one that I'm most excited for right now and the potential that it could come with, is that there was, from Josina Anderson, multiple players potentially being on the move. Saints have a couple of guys that could be trade candidates. Obviously, Lattimore, as we just mentioned. Chase Young, former second overall pick. He's there on a 1-year deal, kind of a prove it deal.
How about that?
Is a young dude that could absolutely make some sense. He's played with his hand in the dirt a little bit more than some of the Packers defensive ends. And maybe that's a place where he could get himself some real snaps, an opportunity to then go make himself some money. But like, it appears they're going to, I think, make some kind of move if indeed they feel they need to. Because what you just mentioned, Gutekunst has not been, he's not held back. When he feels like it needs to be done, he has gone and made the move. He talked about being a little bit more aggressive, having a shorter patience than maybe he would like with specialists. He's also had an itchy trigger finger when it comes to trade, especially on draft night. Draft night, he loves to move around. We'll see if the Packers end up going somewhere today. Jordan Schultz also mentioning former Viking KJ Osborne, now with the New England Patriots, has been involved with a lot of discussions throughout. He's a target for a few teams ahead of today's deadline. Another name that is interesting, and just watch out for the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills, Adam Thielen potentially on the move. That would be a guy that if you think could recapture some play for 2 months, that's a sure-handed cat that could help somebody's offense.
I think there's a lot of that. I think it's going to be a lot of names that you hope if you can.
Fantasy players in 2019 would be like, oh, man, that's a great move.
Buy low guys that if you spike a couple of good months out of them, you've succeeded. Often it's almost like in baseball when the Brewers get a Gio Gonzalez or somebody like that, or a Dallas Keuchel, or a Julio Teheran, where you're trying to spike a couple good months out of them for them to be motivated to reach back for something great, and you never know what could happen. And it's possible, Billy, but I tend to think it's going to be more along those lines, if anything, than the Max Crosbys of the world.
Will you be more disappointed if teams around the NFC make moves and the Packers don't, or if the Packers just don't at all? Will you have any real feelings about it, reservations?
I don't think either would surprise me, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Because I think the Lions, I mean, they went got Za'Darius. They're going to try and be aggressive. It's their whole Dan Campbell nature. And if the Packers don't, I won't be surprised. But then again, I won't be totally shocked if they make some sort of move as well. So
I'm excited for the Packers to pick up somebody from a practice squad today, right around like 2:00.
Yeah.
And then I can have another receipt against me where somebody brought it up on the talking text line. Fantastic one of I was hell bent on the Packers getting OBJ in 2021. Like, I thought that move instantly solidified them as a legit championship contender, going to win the Super Bowl.
And it was kind of close, or it was kind of
I'm on the show with Mike Heller,
right?
And I say, well, they're not getting Odell Beckham, but they're getting something called Rasul Douglas off a practice squad from Philadelphia.
Yeah,
that one worked out pretty well.
Worked out, Billy. I went to bed in 2007 thinking the Packers had Randy Moss. The trade was 90% done. That's what everybody was reporting. I went to bed thinking that, and somehow it's well documented now that we fumbled the bag. Still had a great year.
Still great year. Didn't get Randy Moss. Would have been a little bit more fun if we had Randy Moss in that year, and maybe, Plaxico Burress isn't the best receiver in that game. 877-794-1973. He's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmid. We are presiding over a 9 to noon presentation here today on 97.3 The Game in Madison, across our Game Network of stations, YouTube and X. What up? Appreciate you hanging out and streaming the program live right here. We got some You Better You Bet picks coming up in 20 minutes. We'll run through the winners, if there were any winners, because there was a couple of good weeks right here from the picks on the show. So we'll let you know if anybody's into the playoffs coming up as well. But on the other side, Jason Kelce had an apology yesterday, and I don't necessarily think he had to apologize. We'll discuss. It's 9 to noon on The Game.
So what's it gonna be? Him or me? We can cruise the world with pearls, gator boots for girls, the envy of all women, crushed linen.
Welcome back to the game. Billy and Armin statewide with you. A lot of NicolaLaw.com talking text line messages here today. We understand the frustration. We understand the disappointment. And we apologize for making no decision. If you were wondering, none of the power lasts in the hands of Armin Sari and myself, Bill Schmidt. Company-wide cuts happen across the country, and very, very frustrated, very disappointed. However, we soldier on, we continue, and we provide great conversation because that's what we do.
That's what we try and do, Billy. That's what we're going to continue to do. Really no other choice, right? I
No.
mean, you feel like Buckner walking back in the shea all you want, but you still got to get the next ground ball.
Got to get the next ground ball.
And if you get the reference, I appreciate that.
Hell yeah, because it's a great reference.
It's a fun sports reference, so I appreciate that. It is what it is, right, Billy? And we understand the emotion, the frustration, all those feelings. We feel it 10 times, okay? So just know that when you're out there doing it. Tweet through your feelings.
100%.
Text through your feelings. No problem with it. Just we're reading them all. If we can't respond to all of them,
we're reading them all. We see them all. We appreciate all of them, positive and negative. It's one thing that I always like to use this statement of, I'm not going to tell anyone how to fan.
That's a good point.
I'm not going to tell anyone how to fan. We appreciate you being fans of this radio program and of 9 to Noon. So we are going to we appreciate the reaction to the situation.
Yeah, for once I won't gatekeep. How's that?
All right, how about that? I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
For
Let our blue collar folks that listen to us go through their feelings.
If you want to,
because we went through them.
If you want to do the wave,
still going through them.
Sell your tickets. To Lion fans. Or go after the gold package. Or for once today, I won't tell you how to fan. I'll probably be back to doing it. I'll gatekeep.
I was going to say, if you don't, this program's not going to be nearly as fun.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one of the things that people, I think, do sign up to be able to get is a little bit of Armin Sari and gatekeeping. Now, I got to ask if this was needed from Jason Kelce. If you have not seen the video over the weekend of Jason Kelce at game day, walking through from the game day set where he kicked the ball with Pat McAfee to the game, he's got a 12-pack of beer. He's got about 100 people walking around him, and some guy behind him yelling a word that we will not even fathom to repeat.
A slur.
A slur.
Yeah.
About his brother Travis.
Yep, a slur. Yeah.
Jason Kelce turns around in one of the swiftest, coldest moves I've ever seen. Grabs homie's phone. Spikes that bad boy like he's Gronk spiking a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an elite spike. Then picks up the phone and chucks it. Like, that was maybe the best part. Spikes it like, you know what? Yeah, take that.
And I would say that had, before we go through this, I'm going to say that had an approval rating very high.
Felt like about 98%.
I don't think there's a candidate today that will have an approval rating that high.
No, I don't think so either.
Right.
So, and because Travis and Waukesha goes, I endorse Jason Kelce breaking that guy's jaw instead of his phone.
I think we all would. I'm not going to lie. I
don't think we would have been fine.
Yeah.
He said instead got a 12. He said, I endorsed Kelce breaking the guy's jaw instead of the phone and got a 12-hour ban from X for saying it. Oh, my God.
That's
Travis,
kind of weird.
That's weird. We're in your camp, but Jason Kelce was forced to deliver this last night on Monday Night Football. Get back to the game. Oh, it's a good one.
There you go.
I love it. I also love the reaction by everybody else.
Yep.
Hey, respect that. Because Jason doesn't fully say, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Because you know what?
I don't think deep down he is.
I don't think he should be.
I don't think he should be. Absolutely, Billy.
But
I think he knows that there's more productive ways, and that's what he
oh,
said.
yeah.
But in reality, well, go ahead. I know you were going to say it, but I don't think any of us. I mean, I think he earns respect twofold. One, for the way he went. I think he earned respect for a lot of people the way he defended his brother. You're defending family there. No one's gonna have a problem with that. And for the way he addressed it today and said there's better ways to do things.
Better ways for me to do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I also don't think you have to apologize because, frankly, there's not a whole lot to apologize for. Young man that is walking behind him, screaming that behind him about Travis and Taylor Swift.
Yep.
That's kind of the reaction he was looking for.
He's asking for.
He wanted some kind of visceral reaction. So he got it.
And frankly, Billy, I think he's lucky that his phone got spiked and not his head. Okay.
Dude, he's very, very lucky.
Because that would have, and that some people say that might have been worse, but you wouldn't be surprised if a guy, you try and go at a guy.
You're talking about a Pro Football Hall of Famer with a loaded 12-pack of cold beer in his hand, which is probably the least scary weapon for you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think his two fists would probably be a little bit more nervous for a young man sitting there in Penn State. So I loved everything about the message from Jason yesterday because you hit it right on the head. There's too many people that were listening to us saying, don't back down. Don't make them make you apologize. And I'll be honest, I don't think anybody made him do that.
Don't think they did. I think he said, I want to say this.
I just want to say this. I want to get it out. I could have been better. I should have been better.
Yeah.
However, I also should have whooped that dude's candy ass.
I'm kind of glad he wasn't better in that moment. but I did like the way he wrote it. He's like, in reality, I want to live by the golden rule and I want to lead things to more productive things. And maybe that wouldn't have done it in the moment. It's an emotional reaction. It might feel good in the moment, but maybe it doesn't solve anything. And the reality is on a day that I would like my words to be as poignant and as professional as his were today. And I respect what he said there. I hope I can collect myself to have words like that when those type of situations happen. I think we all like Jason for that reason. And I know, Laura and I watched the documentary, the Kelce's documentary, and of course Cleveland Heights, New Heights podcast. Just like you watch that, you just love Jason and you love the way he handles things and his family and stuff. A lot of respect for a guy like that.
They're cool dudes, man. And I really do understand that it's that's a brutal thing to be a part of. Matt in Wausau hits it on the head. That was an Aaron Rodgers apology. He said, I'm sorry without actually saying the words, I'm sorry. And then, there's Marcus in Iowa goes, Disney answer on a Disney network. Kid's going to get a new phone, lifetime supply of Campbell's Chunky, General Mills, and an NDA. Hey, man, maybe. You know what?
So be it.
It could have been a lot worse. I just also think that for Kelce, I'm not going to say fully I'm sorry for something that I'm really not all that sorry about.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be afraid. I'm sorry. I'm not going to feel bad erring on the side of defending my family.
I'm also not going to feel bad about it.
I think if you listen to the podcast or you've watched a documentary, or you know how much the brothers mean to each other. All right. There's no question about the support they give. And you know what? Maybe the kid will get a new phone. Maybe he'll get a couple of cans of beef vegetable or whatever. But I hope he also got a lesson and learned it. Because there's enough of that. Like, just I'm gonna troll this guy. I'm gonna be funny. I'm gonna be that dude and try and go viral.
Dude, it's so true because 414 texter goes, yes to the max. Gen X and millennials need to remember that the FAFO isn't a joke. That's the around and find out.
Absolutely.
And we're both, that is definitely going right through the curve.
And Billy, we're both technically part of that.
Yes, very much so.
But not everyone approaches life that way that those kids do. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, not everyone's that type of person to do that just because they're a young person.
No. But people are becoming much more comfortable saying whatever the hell they want.
Sure.
And I, for one, was a big fan of Jason Kelce saying, you know what? Sure, you can say it. Guess what? You ain't recording it because that bad boy is gonzo. One thing I don't like is making guarantees when we don't necessarily feel like it could be a guarantee. Doc Rivers last night gave Eric Name a guarantee that Armin is a little bit confounding and also a little bit nerve-wracking because at 1-6,
I need something to change though, Billy.
I don't know that you're in much position to make any guarantees. The words from Doc Rivers that was a guarantee to Eric Name yesterday of The Athletic will bring you those. Also, our last licks from those Motor City Kitties, 24-14, was stewing on it yesterday. And there's a part of the game that I just can't get out of my mind. That comes up in hour number 3. Also, week 10 in You Better You Bet is into pick number 2. So we're going to get an update on where our picks were for week number 9. We're going to get a picker for week number 10. That is going to be caller number 2 on the new NicolaLaw.com talking text line, 877-794-1973. That comes up right after this. That's Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmid. Sarian and Schmid statewide with you on the game.
She said it's cold, it feels like Independence Day, and I can't break away from
Hour 3 of Schmidt and Sarian here on the game. We go through 9 to noon. Appreciate everybody being here with us today. Disappointing day, difficult day here on the game, as one of our brothers is no longer here, as John Kuhn is no longer with the company and no longer with us here on 9 to noon. We appreciate everything that he did for us personally, and we appreciate all of the listeners for the interaction and representation of what this show and what Nooner days and everything have been. It's been a remarkable run. And however, we're going to keep a decent amount of it going. We're going to keep our investment hour coming here in the the third hour of the program. We got the You Better You Bet game coming up here in a matter of moments with the picks from week number 9. But also, Armin, as we've kind of done here a couple of different times, we're remiss to say that it's not with a heavy heart we start the show here today, and we've been rolling through it. There's a lot of reaction, positive and negative, but we appreciate all of it. And now we're going to continue to provide great sports conversation. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. Man, we're diehard fans. We're going to be diehard with you right here on these microphones.
No doubt about it. I mean, all the feelings everyone feels, hurt, frustrated. We feel it 10 times.
Yeah.
It's not an easy day for us. It's kind of a weird day for us to be doing this, but we're still going to be doing it because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And, just know we hurt as much as you. Like, what else I can say about that? It's brutal, but it's one of those things, and it's weird. It feels like something's missing.
100%. That's a good way of putting it.
Something big, a big fullback is missing, but we just got to move on with it.
We're rolling through, and we are continuing with you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line, and right here, Schmidt and Sarian on the game, going through 9 to noon. Couple of text messages already in response to what we were just talking about with Jason Kelce. I like this one from Minnesota. Jason Kelce is the Charles Barkley of the game day crew. You can't help but like him.
Yeah, it's a great point. And it's funny because
did Charles' approval rating publicly, did his Q rating change once he got onto a microphone?
Yeah.
Or did people always like him when he was playing because he was outspoken and wild?
That's a great question. And being
Jason Kelce also wasn't throwing people through glass windows, but
being the 90s NBA savant that I was, there was a time when I think he was seen as kind of a villain or a troublemaker.
Sure.
Charles was outspoken, wouldn't mind to be a rabble rouser in some regards. He's gotten in bar fights, all that stuff young in his career. But I always thought there was like a subsection of people that probably enjoyed his candor and the way he was just not afraid to say what he felt that we just probably didn't realize because there wasn't social media back then. So the conversation was more about probably traditional media sources saying, Charles Barkley's swearing on air again or something like that, like in an interview or like, take that off the windows.
Amen.
But I'm sure there's a lot of
my
people
absolute favorites
that liked him, thought he was a great personality. He was a great part of the Dream Team documentary that they talked about with Barkley was actually like the man of the people in Barcelona. Like he would be out all night walking the Ramblas, like the strip,
just rolling around the streets,
talking to everybody, taking
That's
pictures. Awesome. And he was like a fan favorite. He played really hard. He was the leading scorer on the Dream Team. People forget that. And he was kind of a fan favorite and a guy people liked. And it was the old the commercial back then for Barkley was I'm not a role model, because people would say like he shouldn't be a role model. He's like, I'm not a role model. And the thing was, people wouldn't misunderstand it, but he's like, athletes shouldn't be role models. The parents should be role models, intellectuals, teachers, things like that. Right. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
I'm not a role model. And that went into, as he became kind of like, I don't want to say the voice of reason, but this sort of
it's a well put way of saying it, though. Yeah.
On MATT, because he's funny, he's relatable, and he's usually pretty honest. And a lot of people relate to him when he says, what did he say last week about Embiid? Like, you guys are playing basketball for a living. You don't have to keep crying about
making
it.
$100 million, flying private, having the best things that you possibly could have, the best medicine, the best advancements, the best technology, and you can't play max 4 days a week.
Yeah. I remember my grandma Martha, rest in peace, grandma. It's been a while now, but when I was younger and, they were living in Chicago, from Chicago, and the Bulls were all the rage. But she's like, I love that man, Charles. Whenever he was on TV,
that's awesome.
She loved Charles Barkley. She thought he was the funniest, most neat guy. So I always think of that. Like, why would my grandma like Charles? Because she thought he was funny, and she thought he was hilarious, and she thought he was real. So it's funny you asked that, because I've thought about that a lot about how Charles's perception is just almost like the Snoop Dogg thing. As he's
absolutely very Snoop-esque.
But
from the 90s to now, as to how you can change your outlook by people on you.
Yes, and I bet there was a lot more people that liked Charles more than we realize silently that just didn't have a voice to express it with the traditional media landscape back before social media. So
I really like this.
Back to what you were saying.
I like this kind of better than talking about the now 1-6 Bucks, who, as Eric Name said last night, Armin, before we get to You Better You Bet, surprisingly upbeat after losing 116, 114, and losing back-to-backs against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a home and home. It was without Giannis, as he was out with a right adductor strain. However, Eric Name then asked after the game, as he's one to do, go into the locker room, beat man for the Bucks, our guy Jim Osarski as well, breaking it all down and being there each and every night, goes and asks Doc Rivers after the game, teams that start 1-6, history has not been kind to them making the playoffs. Since 1970, 150 NBA teams have started 1-6 or worse. Only 12 of those have made the playoffs.
Oh, gosh.
5 of which did so with a losing record.
Yeah, 8 seeds and stuff, yeah.
So that was asked of Doc Rivers, and the quote to come out from Doc Rivers said when he was informed of that statistic after the game was, quote, "We will make the playoffs. I'm not worried about that."
Wow. I kind of, there's something about it. It's like, it kind of does a little better. I don't know why it should, but if he has a quiet confidence, maybe I shouldn't either. Because there's a lot of fans that the way this Buck season has started has been sobering, depressing, and it's making us wonder a lot
and
of
a
things.
Bit scary.
And scary that maybe all these things are over. Like, are we that good? Are we that bad? Now, there's still a lot deep down inside you that says they should be better than this. They have talent, you think. Like, they got to be better than this, right? And maybe Doc says it, but I don't know what the Doc believe of Doc.
I don't know what to believe coming out of Doc. I do know that I felt better watching Dame and Giannis on Saturday night, and then the way that they play last night without Giannis, just Dame, absolutely keeping it close. There's no moral victories in this stuff. I mean, you are going to be playing one of the top teams in the East. It's a team that is probably going to end up winning the division against you in the Cleveland Cavaliers that you scrapped with last year for it. And
that's
Doc then continued. This team is very positive. I think they're upbeat. No one wants to lose. Appreciate that.
It's a great way to put it.
It's a great way of putting it. No one wants to lose. We have some tough games coming up, but one win at a time. We win 3 or 4 in a row. And then the numbers say that if you're 5-6 after that, you have an 80% chance to make the playoffs,
Okay.
So that's where numbers are so silly sometimes, especially earlier in the year. And we don't pay much attention to that.
Well, I wouldn't want him to say otherwise. I'll be honest. I don't want him to walk up and say we're terrified. Everybody's aware of that stat and we think we're cooked. You don't want him to say that. But the whole 1 win at a time thing, Billy, we got 1.
I love my man goes, hey, man, we win 4 games in a row. Then we're 5-6. And then what did the numbers say?
Yeah, then what do they say? Yeah.
Well, they still said you were 1-6, and you were potentially going to be one of now 13 teams in the last 55 years of basketball.
Just sounds
to make the playoffs.
Just sounds like me, Billy. As a young kid cheering for those 0-1 Brewers.
I mean, that number slaps you in the face of reality as to what they look like right now. Holy cow!
It's a whole ice bucket over your head. And it's like it hits you right in the face, and then you're like, well. You don't want to be in a position, Billy. You never thought as a Bucs fan you'd be in a position where you said, if we win 10 in a row, we're right back in this thing.
Right back in it, dude.
All we got to do is
no, actually, I did believe that.
15 wins.
Yeah, no, I did believe that quite a few years in which but the bad thing was, Armin, there was no way in hell you were finding a 10-game win streak in 2006.
No,
right? Like there were a lot of those years where it's like, hey, 10-game win streak, we're right back into this thing. We could actually get the 7 seed at that point.
You start questioning everything.
Wow.
But, I don't want to ever put anything past the heart of a champion, which is Giannis. I still believe he can try and bring this team to heights that we need to be at least. I would have liked Doc to go full Jim Fossil. Do you remember Jim Fossil?
Let me hear it.
Old Giants coach. And, do you remember this guarantee, Billy? One of the best.
Get off.
Boom.
That's outstanding. Yeah, that would have been better.
They did make it. Jim Fossil. That's a forgotten one. You walk up and say, but it's a poker game, putting chips in the middle. Get off my coach's back. Get off my player back.
Chips into the middle
It's
of
on
the table.
me. This team is going to the playoffs. That's
yeah,
pretty
you're
good.
right. I like that one better.
I
would have liked that one better.
A little more.
The music behind it also
True.
jacks that bad boy up.
If
Eric Name would have been able to throw some music behind that quote from Doc Rivers in his story at The Athletic,
Billy,
it might have hit the same.
Just feel like if I could have that music in my background of everything I say in life, I might believe you.
Dude, I would tell you this. It might be a dangerous thing. It might be a dangerous thing for us to be making more money. 877-794-1973. That's the NicolayLaw.com talking text line.
Oh,
the talking text line, we laugh because it's sad and true. We are looking here on the talking text line. There's a couple of different people that have already hit in that some more trades are potentially coming up in the NFL's calendar. We talked about it earlier today. Jonathan Mingo goes from the Panthers to the Cowboys in the trade that nobody really knew that they needed to be able to see. Yesterday, Browning, defensive linebacker, was traded to the Arizona Cardinals from the Denver Broncos. Khalil Herbert was traded from the Bears to the Bengals earlier on today. Backup running back there. And the headliner so far, inside of 4 hours to go in the NFL trade period, before the deadline comes up at 3:00 Central, is that Zadarius Smith is now back in the NFC North. He goes to the Detroit Lions.
What, and is he not excited about it? Did he tweet something? I saw that.
Well, the McAfee program had started up with a tweet that has since been deleted by Zadarius Smith this morning that just said, shaking my head.
But they caught it quick.
They got it right away.
Got that screenshot.
Internet gets things right away.
I said Zadarius always mad about something. Wait, what do you want?
He could have been just saying, shaking my head. I was playing video roulette and didn't hit some numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Which he does, which he likes to do.
Now, maybe not at 7 in the morning on a Tuesday, but who knows?
Shaking my head, I burned my eggs.
What the hell?
Shaking my head, my dog didn't go to the bathroom right, or something like that.
Shaking my head, how are these coffee grounds continually getting in my pot?
Yeah, exactly. Shaking my head.
Not the pot that he got potentially caught up with in 2019. Sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
Well, sometimes you got to take one for the team.
Take one for the team. Hey, put it on me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Put it on me. One of the legendary quotes of Zadarius Smith's time here in Green Bay.
That showed leadership at the time.
It did. I
remember being real excited about that, talking about the leadership and all that.
That was one of my favorite things I've ever heard. Put it on me. Those young boys don't need any of that nonsense in their lives.
He didn't want to be traded to a contender, we think. Well, we're interpreting, right? Like
potentially, or again, maybe you're right. Maybe he was saying, shaking my head, I pulled away from the gas pump without pulling the pump or the hose out of my car.
Yeah.
Drove, ripped that thing right from the gas pump.
Shaking my head. That they had Diet Coke in the Coke machine and not Coke. I blew that one.
Shaking my head. They stopped. Potawatomi doesn't have Dr. Pepper in all of the soda machines, but they got the ones in the important ones.
Yeah, upstairs. Actually, they do, and they have them in the ones downstairs too now, the new ones. See, the Anderson.
Let's go. They knew what people were wanting,
people
Armin.
wanted Dr. Pepper, and the people wanted picks. And we're playing You Better You Bet today.
People want picks. They want winners, and we're playing You Better You Bet with our friends at Carnivore and Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Something's missing.
You better. Not good. Sorry. That's not good. That's not good by me. I'll get better.
It's it's hard to
listen.
Replace the legend.
That is a legendary move right there that I'm gonna have to try to replace.
All right.
And that's a tough one. All right, let's go into week number 10 of You Better You Bet. And we already, before we go forward with our friend Brewer Bruce, who's ready to deliver some winners here for week 10, we got to update the folks, Armin, on how the picks went for week 9 in You Better You Bet and who right now is in position to qualify for those playoffs in that dinner at Carnivore.
As you know, to eat with the guys, you got to beat the guys. And the guys were you and John last week.
Yes.
John finished with 3 picks, had the Broncos, Cardinals, Dolphins, Rams, Raiders, lock. 3. Billy, you did better with 4, Bengals, Patriots, Chargers, Rams. Only one you missed was that Colts lock, unfortunately.
That Colts lock is a really hurtful one.
I felt the pain with you on Sunday night as we were going through it together.
Because, I mean, just think about it. You had 4 of those 5 picks. And a lot of times, if you go 5 for 5, you can make an investment called a parlay.
I've heard of those.
And you make a lot more money on that parlay if you win it. And I don't know, maybe there's certain people that do that kind of thing.
Well, you were close.
That are just sitting there waiting and watching and potentially seeing all that money and already spending some of that money that could have been won on that Sunday night if somebody was doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Colts had just missed the cover, which would have given you a perfect week.
Son of a...
And it would have given you a nice parlay. And
yeah, it would have.
Well, there's nothing you could use the money for right now.
Yeah. No,
you're not going anywhere, are you? Next week?
Not going anywhere.
Don't have
a 1-year-old who somehow keeps going to the bathroom more than ever. I mean, like the diapers just continue to flow out of this house. I don't get it. Now maybe he's just taken from dad, who potentially goes 3 or 4 times a day. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. And I saw
so I would have been able to use those.
You sent me some pictures of my man chilling today, just having his vibe. Eating that banana, watching baseball again, probably.
He's got the Brewers on. He's got the Packer blanket on. He's chilling. He's ready to roll. But we're also trying to figure out if you can get a roll and get on a roll anybody into the playoffs for week number 9.
Now, you had 4, Billy. Now you got to beat Billy. You
got beat the 4 guys to eat with the guys.
Derek and Whitewater had a good run, but had 4, didn't beat you.
Yikes.
Mailman Jeff had a good run, but had 4, didn't beat you. It was Smurf with 2. Alex, I think, only had 1. It was Mike in Greenfield, who did come through with 5.
Let's go, Mike.
5 points. So Mike in Greenfield, congratulations. You've been added to the winner's bracket. And,
I would have been salty if we didn't have anybody get in.
And anybody get in. And I hear someone asking me, a voice somewhere asking me, Armin, do you have all those winners in the winner's bracket? Yes, I do.
You got that new doc yet?
Josh and Napier, Mark and Madison, Tony in Oak Creek, Mark in West Bend, Benny and Merton, Schwartz Center. You're still in this, so don't leave us. Brett
don't
Franklin,
leave us, Schwartz Center.
Brian, Bobby, Billy, and Mike.
There we go.
Now, and if you guys would stop calling me, yes, I'm going to go vote. All right. Now,
yes, we are going to go vote.
Yes.
Telemarketers, political calls. We get it. We're busy right now. I've gotten 18 since we've been on the air.
Yeah.
We get it. It's the election day.
That last call was really the one that was going to.
That was the one that put me over the top. Right. You know what? I wasn't going to go vote, but I appreciate you letting me know that I should, and now I am going to go vote. All you nooners out there, go and vote. Go and vote. Go hear your voice heard.
Let's get into week 10. It's Brewer Bruce. Brewer Bruce, you got the honor today. Give us your first pick. Indeed, brother. Indeed.
Had to throw it out there.
Yep.
We appreciate you.
Okay. First pick, Ravens over the Bengals.
Taking the Ravens, laying 6 over the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a good one right there. And Armin, I got to say, with the Bengals coming off of a big win, feeling themselves a little bit, short week on the road in the division, this is a massive game, really, for both sides. Feels like it's bigger for the Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
However, this is a game last year that, if I'm not mistaken, I think was a Thursday night that ended up costing Joe Burrow the rest of his season.
When it comes to Ravens-Bengals, for some reason, I just like to avoid it because I feel like anything can happen in those games. But I do like the pick here. I mean, that Baltimore's playing really well.
Like the Ravens at home in any investment.
Any situation.
Any game, I like taking the Ravens at home in, despite whatever the number ends up being. All right, Bruce, what's your next pick?
Chiefs over the Broncos.
He's taking the Kansas City Chiefs over the Denver Broncos. That one is a noon boom in KC. 8.5 is the number. Broncos got their doors blown off last week by the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
At M&T Bank Stadium that we just mentioned. They were catching 9 points in that game. 8.5, 9, 9.5, then down to 8, then back up to 8.5, then to 9.5. Whatever it was, big number, touchdown plus. They do the same thing this week, Armin. And I don't know why, but I feel a whole lot better about them catching the 8.5 this week than I did last.
Yeah, I don't know, but what did I tell you earlier in the show, Billy? I'm not going to be ever betting against the Chiefs anymore unless some setback happens with Patrick this week and your boy Carson Wentz is in there. I just can't see myself going against the Chiefs. So
yeah, I struggle to be betting against the Chiefs in anything in this day and age. All right, Bruce, what's your next pick?
I've got the Steelers over the Commanders.
Taking the Steelers over the Commanders. Commanders right now are laying 3, so he'll be taking the 3 points on the road with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming off a bye. Commanders, just right now, most recently within the last couple of minutes, sounds like they are really working hard on the potential move for Marshawn Lattimore, try to shore up the back end of their defense.
Why not?
I assume somebody's going to get him now with all this smoke. Could be Washington, but right now, Steelers feel like a very good bet in just about any game they're playing, Armin.
Oh, I think so, too. I love how plucky they are, and I kind of like this. You're getting points, so why not? Roll with the Steelers there.
All right, Bruce, what's your next pick?
I'm going to take the Vikings over the Jags.
No, I'm taking the Vikings over the Jaguars. Okay. Laying 4, same as the line was for the Packers against those Jags. Jags fought hard and definitely cost some money on a backdoor cover against the Eagles last week. Minnesota lays 4 on the road down in Duval County, Armin.
Yeah, you know what? The way they came back against the Colts, I was kind of waiting, hoping for your sake, of course, that they would lose that. And because, I like to take a shot at the Vikings whenever I can, call them paper tigers. But I'll be honest with you, I like the Vikings this week in this one. So that's a good pick. What do you think, Billy?
Bruce, you getting Armin Sarian to say that he likes the Vikings any week? I appreciate that pick because that is a soundbite now that is going to live on forever. So we appreciate that more than anything. However, I'm really going to appreciate your 5th winner. Is this your lock that you're dropping on us right now?
This is my lock, and I'm taking the Falcons over the Saints.
Okay.
Locking in the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds going to the New Orleans Saints.
3.5.
They lay 3.5.
Yeah.
This is one of the nastiest rivalries in pro football. The two fan bases despise each other. Superdome, hard place to play. This Saints team, not a hard team to play against.
That's a great point. Even though they're going on the road, I love what the Falcons are doing right now. I don't love what the Saints are doing right now. If you want to be real scaredy cat like I am, you buy the half point, make it -3.
Make it -3, sure.
The hook is scary, but I'll tell you what, Billy, I love this pick. I really do. This might be one I invest in when we go whale hunting in the desert.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Going whale hunting in the desert coming up at the end of the week. Bruce, you just dropped some winners on us. We really appreciate it, man. Tune in next week, see where you're at here into the playoffs in week 10, all right?
Sounds good, guys. Keep it going.
Thanks, Bruce. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for hanging out with us here on 9 to Noon with Sarian and Schmid now on the game. You mentioned that Falcons team. Big fan of what Kirk Cousins has been able to do here in pretty much every game since the first game of the year, where he looked washed AF.
He did.
I mean, like really bad. He couldn't move, Armin.
We were talking about it, but he didn't let that become the end of the story.
He's got a 500-yard passing day since then.
Kirk is a conscientious dude. He's going to come back. He's
swag surfing.
He's swag surfing. He's going to figure out what it takes to help his team win, and he's always done that throughout his career. And I'll be honest, Raheem Morris done a great job too, Billy.
Really good job.
He really has.
Yep.
So you get a guy like that who's really taking control of that team. That team feels like they're disciplined now. I really think they've done a good job.
How about two
sneaky out in the playoffs? By the way, in my opinion,
I think they'll be tough.
Yeah.
Think about now 2 defensive-minded head coaches in Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris have 2 of the scarier teams right now in the NFC because they're 2 of the more unknowns, right? Young team in Atlanta that you knew was decent, but you didn't know how they were going to potentially play with the new quarterback. And the Commanders, nobody wants to play Jaden Daniels.
Right.
So, I mean, like, and
it helps
in
to
a
have
league
him.
where you're always going to be looking for the hot new young play caller head coach, I like the fact that it's 2 young dudes that aren't calling the plays and are on the defensive side that right now have probably the best 2 results of the new coaches.
Yeah, is the tide changing in terms of how coaches are going to be the new hot thing hired? I'm not sure because, Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, all that. Well, Cliff Kingsbury was part of that for a while. Was like the innovative offensive guys. Is it going to shift back just like the running back culture is shifting back? Who knows? But this is a cyclical game, Billy, and cycles happen.
But now both of them also have, and they also, too, have the one thing that they can gravitate towards, that they've both been kissed by the beloved, right? I mean, Dan Quinn was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons when Kyle Shanahan went and got that 49ers job. So he's got the relationship there. Oh, wait. Oh, you know Kyle? Don't worry, I know Kyle. Ask Kyle about me. He really likes me.
Yeah.
Raheem Morris helps Sean McVay win a Super Bowl. You got to have one of those 2 dudes on their side.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that helps for both of those guys as well.
Yeah.
877-794-1973, 877-794-1973. The start of college basketball was last night. We'll run through what you had there across the slate, as well as 2 struggles that I've still had after the second viewing of Packers and Lions. Those frustrations from the L of the weekend we'll discuss on the other side. That's Armin Sari, and I'm Billy Schmid. It's Schmid and Sari, and stay wide on the game.
I go back to the smell of an old gym floor and the taste of salt on a Carolina shore after graduation and drinking goodbye to friends. And I go back to watching summer fade to fall, growing up too fast, and I do recall wishing time would stop right at its
Nobody get you roll on. I know shorty and she doesn't want no slow song. Had a man last year, life goes on. Haven't let that thing loose, girl, in so long. You been inside, know you like to lay low.
9 to noon on the game with Schmidt and Sari in here. Appreciate you being with us. Appreciate you hanging out all day long. 877-794-1973. Nooners, we're with you. And going through all of the frustrations, disappointments, and angers on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. I like this one here, Armin.
Yeah.
Something I think many people could still agree with here. We had 920 send in a picture of his ballot.
Okay. Oh, big day, election day. Big
day.
Let's go.
Election day, right?
Yeah.
So apparently there's 5 options on the ballot. Now, I am not the one with the sticker on. I have not voted yet. I will get there, and it is important for all of you to go out and take part in your civic duty and vote.
I'll be out there voting. I got to get in line, at the old Franklin police station. I think
there we go.
I think that's my spot.
Village of Hales Corners. Go down there. Now moved, so I'm going to have to do the register and everything.
Oh, you better bring a piece of ID or a piece of mail.
Piece of mail?
I'll need you to, sign in as me and try and vote twice. All right? I don't know. Little tricky stuff out there.
Yeah, or how about this one? Or as the 920 did send in with their video,
What?
The 5 options read Kamala D. Harris and Tim Walz, Democratic. Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, Republican.
Yep, heard of them.
Chase Oliver, Mike, something or other. Don't want to say something that's going to get me fired on the radio.
I don't think he's
Libertarian.
going to win if he can't get it.
Jill Stein and Rudolph Ware.
Yeah.
Green Party. And write-in that now features Fire Matt Eberflus. I mean, like when you get a ballot picture in there with a write-in of Fire Matt Eberflus, I think you're going to drop that on the air. We really appreciate somebody giving us that comedy here today on the NicoletLaw.com talking text.
You know what? What if you could really put sports decisions on the ballot for fans? Wouldn't that be wild? If you could actually make someone vote. Like there's a famous story, about Favre in 94. It's actually apropos because people have talked about love all week.
Mm-hmm.
And Favre had Packers trade for Favre in 92, right? He had kind of a great start to his career at 92 with Green Bay.
Yep.
Packers go 9-7, miss the playoffs, but good start. 93 has a nice full year as a starter. Still makes some mistakes, but they go to the playoffs. They get the big playoff win last second. Sterling Sharp, all that. Waiting for him to take a jump in 94. He struggles, has a lot of bad interceptions early on in 94. Great story about how there's a meeting in the coaches' room between the coaches because they have this young backup, Mark Brunell, that's looking great, doesn't make mistakes. He
takes care of the football.
He's solid in practice. They vote 10-3 in his coaches' meeting to start Brunell over Favre. That we're taking to the vote. And Holmgren says, you know what? I'm going down with the ship. It's my call. We're sticking with Favre. Turned it around, had a great end in 94, then has 3 straight MVP seasons. Everything changed. But I wonder if you could have taken it to the fans. What would the fans have voted for? I know fans love the backup, right? And we do that a little bit with our
generally favorite player is the backup quarterback.
It would be pretty wild if the people decided all the decisions for their team. Like almost like in total choose your own adventure mode. We're giving you every choice, right? Don't forget the people.
So you're saying
chose Lindy Infante in a newspaper poll in 1989 to be the best coach in Packers history. Don't ever forget that. It was either a Journal Sentinel or Press Gazette poll. He got more votes than Vince Lombardi. Now, I'm not saying that we as sports fans tend to be prisoners of the moment, but
not saying that
we tend to be prisoners of the moment. That's what happens. Wouldn't that be wild? Just think about that. Who do you
what
want
you're
to
saying
start
is
this
not
week?
only is this NFL head coach the video game in reality where you're making all the decisions.
Yeah, right.
The Malik Willis Jordan Love poll would have been wild at halftime.
LaFleur has to look at the results and say,
all right, now I have to go with this.
Registered Packer fans, however you want to do it.
Sure.
Because you don't want to get because there could be a lot
Can't
of
have some people just coming in here trying to steal votes.
Vikings fans, we're going to bench Rodgers, something like that. No, it has to be registered, maybe season ticket holders. Well, or stockholders.
Ones that go to the games?
Yes, thank you. Not just commodity sellers. Our stockholders have voted Malik Willis to start today. I'm sorry, Jordan. You're
sorry, we're gonna have to start Malik Willis.
But the results are clear. They've called the election, and you're out. So
right now we only have 58% of the precinct reporting, but now it looks like Malik's going to start the game. That's a juicy one. That's a hell of an idea right there for you.
I don't like the idea. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't think it's the best way to go about things. I don't think it's the most efficient way either.
Far from the most efficient. Yeah,
you
I would say far from the most efficient. Definitely not
On the iPad?
Not the most entertaining, though.
Like if you're on the iPad.
Could you imagine the live result?
Live results. Oh, I'm sorry, Microsoft Surface, not iPad.
Yes, Surface.
Surface. Okay, but 58% want to run play here. All right, call the run play off tackle. You know what I mean? It's just funny to think about that.
You can find a lot of great ways to be able to run that one through. Oh, God, that is good. I've been saying that there's just a couple of things one thing that has really been sticking in my craw since the game this past weekend.
Just one thing? Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than just one thing. We'll get to one thing coming up later on in the program.
Right.
But Armin, watching again and feeling again how close this game could be, if indeed the first possession doesn't go with a field goal after the bedwetter 8+ minute drive. I mean, you were on the Chris Brooks drop yesterday.
Chris Brooks
and
drop.
I don't think
people were forgetting about that.
I don't
drop.
think I gave it nearly enough credence because it sets a tone of drops being almost not okay, but seeming like that was going to be the trend of the game. It just immediately sets a horrendous taste in your mouth that yesterday while I'm going through the rewatch, I went back 2 or 3 different times and just felt the energy almost change once you see that third down ball go out of the hands. Could have been a better ball.
Of course.
Could have been a better ball.
So Wicks could have been too.
Potentially could have thrown it to maybe not free agent pickup from 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, but you know what?
But he's been one of your best pass blocking guys, so there's a reason he's in there. You got to be able to make that play.
If he's open,
damn, man, I did not give you the amount of respect on how big that play felt after watching again. The tone that you could set going up 7-0. Instead, the door just feels so wide open.
I think,
and it felt weird after that moment.
I think because it happened so early and so much happened since then in the game, you know what I mean? It's easy to forget about that play. And who knows? I mean, the Lions played well. Obviously, they're talented. They played well. Packers didn't. That's why the Packers lost. They were outplayed and out-talented in some regard. If they played more mistake-free, they could have won. But you never know about the ripple effect, right, Billy? The butterfly effect. The Packers scored tutty on the opening drive. And, it would have if Brooks had squeezed it and held on. Unfortunately, they didn't. Now, those things are going to happen. You have to overcome them. Packers couldn't do that. But, that's one people forgot about from the game, I think, just because it happened so early. But Brooks was in if he caught that ball.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the Packers were scoring a touchdown on that first. And then we're talking about a perfect opening drive, script, playbook,
totally different tenor of the game.
Sure. And who knows? The Lions might have still come back and won, but I would think it's a different game because
they very much might, Armin, still come down and score a touchdown and still take off the other 7.5 minutes on the clock, right? I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You just feel a totally different vibe watching the rest of the game after that ball goes through the hands. And to then the Tucker Kraft catch feels like, well, this is just the day that we're going through. The Dontavian Wicks catch drop later into the game is like, well, of course that was going to happen.
Sure.
It's just the immediacy of it, the initial letdown, because everything had been so clean on that possession. You get the 4th and 1.
Like an omen almost.
You're just moving, and then all of a sudden the air gets let out of the balloon. Just enough for you to feel like that thing is definitely going to come back to bite us.
Yeah.
Just like it felt like last year. When the Keyshawn Nixon ball goes through his hands in Santa Clara, you're praying it doesn't come back to bite you. But inevitably, it absolutely did. 877-794-1973. That's one thing that I got. One final thing from Armin Sarian on the other side as we round third, head for home. And then we'll hand it off to myself and Aaron Nagler into the Carry the G radio proceedings from noon to 2. Tim Allen will brew the offseason with you from 2 to 3. Drew and KB in here from 3 to 6 as well. Take you through the NFL trade deadline, give you one last look if we have any updates for you. Green Bay Packers in some conversations. Goody's always in the mix. We'll have a special Carry the G radio of a trade deadline edition coming up today. Armin Sarian, Billy Schmidt, round third, head for home. Wrap things up next right here. Schmidt and Sarian on the game.
Won't hear a peep peep. The girl he wants don't seem to want him to. It seems the feelings that she had her through.
now, 9 to
promise
noon
you.
here on the game. You did promise me that we were going to play this at some point. I just blasted this yesterday. Needed to clear my head for a quick second.
Billy needed a moment.
And all of a sudden,
It's like, all right, Young Jock.
V100 was playing Young Jock, and I'm like, it's the need to be. I need exactly this right now.
It's a big song back in
Oh,
06.
God.
What was it, 06?
Something like that. Yeah, 06, 05.
No.
So good. So let her do a thing. And there's a lot of things in there that we definitely can't say on the radio, and that's why it's such a good edited version. We really appreciate you pulling that one up here, Armin Sarian.
I don't forget.
Schmidt and Sarian here on the game with you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. It's been a very interesting day on the talking text line. It's been a very, very interesting day for us here today as we've maneuvered through a very, very difficult change here at iHeartMedia as we will continue to provide you conversation about the Green Bay Packers, Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Brewers, and all of our favorite teams. And how about this? Some fun from 9 to noon each and every day.
Yes.
As we continue.
And college basketball has started as well. College basketball, I'm pretty excited about that.
I know you're excited about that. Yeah, I know
Big
you're excited
wins.
about
The Badgers won.
How about it? Holy Cross?
Marquette won. Come on now. Let's go. Stony Brook. There's no match.
I know. You just... I listen,
All right,
it's so many
fine.
people get mad at me
I'm
for
not
how
mad.
on earth I can watch the NBA in October and November.
No, I'm not mad at you. Watch what you
College
like.
basketball in October and November to me is
Sure,
like almost way more difficult.
I get it.
However, I'm going to get there with you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to
come
get there
on.
with you this year. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Subscribe to Ken Palm.
Yeah, I got it. I got my Ken Palm
I
subscription.
subscribe. So now I can
replenished.
talk. So now I can talk to you about Ken Palm and know what you're talking
And
about.
now Billy's got Ken Palm. You
Now
paid
I'm
that-
on to the Ken
you
Palm.
paid that $20 for the year?
Yeah, tried writing it off, and we'll see. We'll
Let's
see if it
go.
works. We'll see if it works. So, it is election season, so we might as well talk taxes right here today on the
Let's
day.
talk
Like,
it. Let's talk
that
it.
sounds like the best
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Money is right now the conversation holding up, it appears. Marshawn Lattimore. Now, Ian Rappaport, within the last 5-10 minutes, has reported that while nothing is agreed to or finalized, talks centered around Marshawn Lattimore have picked up over the last few hours. We knew the Washington Commanders were in.
Yeah, okay.
So are the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, of course. The Chiefs go for it, man. They go after everybody.
Chiefs have been in on it. Commanders have made a push. He also says there are at least 2 other teams with the eyeball emoji right there.
2 other teams. Are we one of them?
2 other teams. 2 other teams. Mystery team right there. New team would acquire the guaranteed $600,000 that he has right here. 2 non-guaranteed years on the contract for Marshawn Lattimore at $18 million and 18.5. So it's non-guaranteed. You absolutely probably would sign him to an extension at the end of the year or cut him and get the cap relief. The dead cap money for the Saints, it's a difficult one. Unlikely move as they rarely like to sell parts off in the season. But they would go to $31.6 million in dead cap money next year. So there's a lot of cash that they're biting on this deal if they end up making it. But it appears that it could be closer than some of the experts had thought earlier on in the week.
Yeah.
And the other one involving the Green Bay Packers, monitoring season. Well, Jaden
Monitoring.
Reed is monitoring the situation going on with Greg Newsome, who posted on his Instagram
Okay.
picture that just said, moving forward. That was shared by Packers wide receiver Jaden Reed.
Maybe they're just friends or something like that.
Well,
you
that's
know?
what Bill Huber said at Packer Report on SI. He did the reporting, so connect the dots. No, do not connect the dots. This from Bill Huber. A source said that the Packers did not trade for Newsome, nor are they expected to trade for Newsome. Newsome is from Chicago, and Jaden Reed is from nearby Naperville. They are friends, a
They're
source
just
said.
boys. Well, why do you have to be a wet blanket, Bill? I love you for being correct and accurate and right and informative.
Damn you for being a good reporter, Bill
Stop being
Huber.
let me dream. This is dreaming season. This is drop the mop season. Don't be wet blanket. This is hopes and dreams season.
So we will keep the hopes and dreams alive coming up during Carry the G Radio and keep the eye on the deadline. Also, despite speculation, the Seahawks aren't trading DK Metcalf. Armin, I didn't know that was speculated here.
Despite speculation, the Packers are not trading Aaron Rodgers. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's crazy.
Despite speculation, despite speculation that one rando on Twitter came up with.
Yeah,
probably.
despite the speculation that my network came up with,
Yeah.
DK Metcalf is not being traded. All right, we ask you for one final thing here on a day like today, Armin. One final thing here today on a very, very strange edition of 9 to Noon.
One more thing brought to you by Best Electric. Connect with the best, bestelect.com. One more thing is that today was not a normal day. It's not going to be a normal day. It's not going to be normal going forward for us, Billy, but it's going to be something new, and it's going to be our best shot, and we're going to give it every day, okay? That's one more thing. And it is election season. You don't need to hear me tell you to vote. You've got a million texts and calls from spam numbers telling you to do it. But I'm making a prediction. I think Warren Harding is going to win this thing. I think Warren J. Harding is going to win this thing. That's my pick. I think he's going to beat James Cox. I really do.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, that's my prediction.
That's a hell of a prediction
I got Warren Harding on the money line. All right.
Betting on the election that is peak 2024. Yeah. That's Armin Sari, and I'm Billy Schmidt. I'll be on with Aaron Nagler on the other side with Carry the G Radio. We'll be back tomorrow on a wide open Wednesday. Voice of the Green Bay Packers, Wayne Larrabee, will join us coming up right away at 9 tomorrow for Armin Sari, and I'm Billy Schmidt. It's Ben Schmidt and Sari, and we'll try to be better tomorrow on day 2 right here on The Game.
So let's start. It's in V2.